Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me. Yeah, why would you bet on Goliath when we got Bet David? Valuetainment, giving values contagious. This world of entrepreneurs, we get no value to haters. How they run, homie, look what I become. I'm the one.
All right, so we got episode 510, a lot to cover, possibly a World War III. Literally, I mean, I understand like, other times people say there could be a World War III. There's some moves taking place with this last 60 days before Trump becoming the actual president instead of president-elect that's causing Trump to maybe even go to Russia to sit down and say, hey, guys, pump the brakes. What is this all about? After Biden approving the usage of long-range missiles by Zelensky, and then he actually used it. And then we're going to show you a clip about what Putin did in Russia to kind of stand off. And then yesterday, while we're in Orlando, I'm driving around talking to a few people. It's interesting how the people who are from Russia who voted for Trump, this lady told me something that was very interesting I've not heard before. I'll share that with you guys. There's a bunch of other things that's going on story-wise. The NFL officially has no issues with players doing the Trump dance. Is it becoming now okay to say you're a Trump voter? That was not the case 8 years ago, not 4 years ago, not 2 years ago, not 6 months ago. But it is today. In regards to mass deportation, Trump confirms plans to use military to assist in mass deportation. LA City and schools make themselves migrant sanctuaries while when they were asking for a minimum wage raise to $18, they voted no to it. They voted no to it, which is kind of interesting on those two issues going back and forth. And then we'll talk about what's going on with Russia, the challenges that they're facing with Ukraine. We'll address that. We'll address what Macron told them. We'll address the Putin allows nuke response to U.S. missiles as he signs off on World War III escalation. Sunny had a rough week with The View, where she had to come out and read something that if you've ever seen anybody miserable when they're having to read something, she's the best example of it. I don't think you've ever seen anybody more miserable having to do a job than this lady.
Whoopi threw her under the bus, made her do it.
Well, no, that's a producer.
Let's wait till the podcast, Tom. Let's wait till the podcast.
Hey,
Tom is so excited
when
the whole crew is here together because, Adam, I'm convinced.
Sir.
Tom missed you a little bit. I'm convinced. When you were in D.C. yesterday and the liberals didn't want to let you go, I'm convinced Tom is secretly in love with you.
I missed you too.
Matt Gaetz.
I've had a lot of coffee. I'm really ready to go.
Yeah, Matt Gaetz. We got to talk about Matt Gaetz. There's a lot of things that's coming up with Matt Gaetz. A great clip by Josh Hawley that Rob's got ready for us to play here in a few minutes. And some clips that maybe are different kind of clips for folks that want to see him be taken down. Elon Musk, Brazil's first lady, said F you to Elon Musk, creates political firestorm. And then CNN's Harry Enton marvels at just how much Elon Musk is actually winning despite declining popularity and exodus from X. By the way, the new Time magazine's cover just came out. Rob, if you can get that prepared to show, you should see what's in there. Elon has a checklist with his Time magazine. It's actually a pretty good checklist. FYI, if I told you CNN and MSNBC, if I told you one company that beat those guys, if there's one company that you would never guess, what if I told you Hallmark? Yes, Hallmark beat CNN and MSNBC viewers.
Hallmark?
Last week, folks. Hallmark. What are we talking about?
What were they playing?
It's pretty bad over there. And there's a clip. You guys got to watch this clip by Bill O'Reilly with Chris Cuomo and Stephen A. Smith. And Tom's got some numbers he's going to reveal to us that I even haven't seen yet, which I'm looking forward to sharing with everybody, including myself. Business stories. The soft skills crisis. 1 in 4 executives wouldn't even think of hiring an entry-level Gen Z grad today. That's Fortune magazine. California, I talked about the minimum wage. Tariffs. Check this out. Target stock drops nearly 20%. That's $10 billion they lost in a day. That's Target. Walmart. They're talking about how the tariffs could probably cause Walmart price hikes. That's a Forbes story. And then Ford to cut 14% of their European jobs, blaming EV shift and rising competition. And then Howard Lutnick says the most incredible thing breaking down tariffs that you have to see. We'll show that to you. WAPO, that's owned by Bezos. Bezos comes out and says, listen, guys, either come back to the office or send in your letter of resignation. And if you don't want to come back to the office, I'm okay with that. Go to Glassdoor, because Glassdoor CEO said, we kind of like hiring people that don't work from home. So guess what? WAPO, you guys got a place to go work. It's called Glassdoor. The CEO doesn't have any problem with it. You guys can go over there. And last but not least, we got to show Cenk calling the election, the king of choosing elections. What's his name? Lichtman, who's been on the pod. Nice guy.
I like him.
But it's so entertaining with peers to see what they said. Don't call me stupid. You got to see it. It's just entertaining.
It's blasphemy.
And last but not least, this is one thing that I'm a little bit concerned about showing it to you. But I have to. Two other things before I get to that. NVIDIA doubles revenue on strong AI. Laken Riley killer sentence to life. We're going to show the clip, and Vinny's got a lot of updates on that. And last but not least, I'm worried about showing this commercial because it may motivate you and persuade you to never buy Jaguar for the rest of your life. Jaguar tried to do a commercial like the Apple commercial from 1984, the LGBTQ style, and they failed miserably, which we'll show to you here in a minute. However, before we get into it, let me tell you what's going on right now. Guys, Tom, Rob, if you can play that clip, even this guy here, we are excited about the Christmas season being here. The former presidential candidate that was running, Kamala, said the following thing about Christmas, and I want to tell you what happened with this hat here. Rob, play this clip.
How dare we speak Merry Christmas?
Oh, my God.
How dare we?
Wow.
Well, guess what? We're saying Merry Christmas again.
So check this out. For this Christmas season, Valuetainment, we sat there, our team agreed, we're going to come out with Merry Christmas gear. Both. FYI, we launched these 3 hats, okay, last week. These 3 hats, limited numbers that we launched, just to see how the market was going to react to it. Do you know which one sold out within seconds? This was gone in no time. There were people that bought 10 of these at a time, okay? This was gone. Right now, we have 16, 17 of these left. If nothing's been ordered right now, they can order. Rob, if you can go to vtmerch.com, specifically the Christmas season gear, if you can go there. There's some interesting scripture in the middle of these hats. For those of you that are going to church, you're going to like the scripture that's in here. If you order it, you'll see it. We have a ton of Christmas gear. Future looks bright, Christmas gear. Yesterday, I was in Orlando, walking around, looking at a couple events to possibly do an event in the future. And you know what was amazing? I saw folks wearing the Valuetainment Future Looks Bright gear, running up, PBD Future Looks Bright. I loved taking pictures, videos with them. I have in my phone right now probably 100 pictures of folks that are posting Valuetainment gear, Future Looks Bright, with kids, with families, voting, all of it. Anybody that places an order right now of the Christmas gear, you will get a free ornament sent to you. So during Christmas, on your tree, you will have one of the best Christmas trees in the world because it's going to have the Future Looks Bright red ornament on it. So go place your gear, order specifically if you want to get one of these because this one's flying. You got the ugly sweaters. You got also some stuff for your kids, babies as well, if you want to get them a onesie. Having said that, let's get right into the story. All right. So a few things while we're looking at all these things that's going on. I'm going to start off with, Rob, if you don't mind getting the clip ready of Ukraine, with what happened with Russia. I'll read this and then play the clip and we'll go from there. So Ukraine reportedly uses the long-range missile for the first time to blow up Russian weapon facility as Putin issues nuclear warning to America. And Rob, if you have the clip, is this the clip of Ukraine attacking Russia?
This is Russia using the ICBM last night into Ukraine.
They're saying it looks like, and mind you, I worked at Malmstrom Air Force Base, Montana, ICBM missile site. This is what it would look like at night. They're saying that he's doing it to show force with no warhead on it, but just they're saying that this might be him showing like you
firing off, but there is no warhead.
There's no warhead on it. Oh yeah, you would know. Dude, that noise.
No warhead in it. If there was a warhead, it's a different story.
The camera's this guy's gone. They're all gone.
This is last night.
Oh, that's fear. You hear the fear? It's. I'm telling people.
Rob, where is this? It's still causing damage.
Oh,
but
it's
not
causing
the damage of a
no.
nuclear bomb, obviously.
Pat, if it was a nuclear warhead, that first wave, this guy would have felt the impact that he's done. Yeah. That's scary.
So that's this taking place, and then you have Putin that comes out.
That's wild, man.
Putin comes out.
Sounds like an airplane, doesn't it?
Sounds like an airplane. These are the ones at nighttime, Rob.
I saw this one.
Yeah.
Go ahead and play this clip, Rob.
Sounds like Boeing testing 737s.
Yeah. See,
There's three of them. I saw the.
This is what I was talking about it looking like it's a ICBM.
This is where this is in Ukraine.
This is just fast. This is the fast. The fast forward part of it. But that's what they would look like, guys. That's when that type of stuff is happening. It's like.
So while this is going on, you hear Putin allows nuke response to U.S. missiles as he signs off on World War III escalation. What does that mean? He signs off on World War III escalation. Let me read it to you. So Putin updated Russia's nuclear doctrine to permit nuclear retaliation against the West if Ukraine fires long-range missiles into Russian territory and move into Kremlin's Dmitry Peskov's confirmed as target aggression with the use of conventional weapons following the U.S. approval for Ukraine to use these weapons 190 miles. Peskov warranted this policy reserves the right to use nuclear weapons and marks a significant escalation in the conflict. Vinny, what else do you know about the story?
Well, here's the thing. Look at it. Let's not forget about the timing. How many more days does Joe Biden have, Tom? How many?
20 in January, 31 in December, and about 8 right now.
Okay, and it was his birthday yesterday. He's 82 years old.
60 days.
60 days left. Okay, yeah. And let's just be honest. First, he is not making any decisions. Every headline that we see about Biden did this, Biden did that. Let's all agree it's not Joe Biden. Okay, and let's remember the Biden administration started this war. They knew Russia would invade when we were publicly pushed Zelensky to join NATO. Let's all be completely honest. That's what they all want. The left and a lot of these Republicans on the right. And let's not forget on January 9th, Biden addressed, that address that he did, Tom, where he said, if Russia, Russia will be held accountable if it invades. And it depends on what it does. If it's one thing, if it's a minor incursion, we won't really do anything. This is Joe Biden inviting Russia to invade Ukraine, okay? And then he basically attacked them and openly talking about expanding NATO. Because I wanted to ask you guys, if right now, I'm just going to pick somewhere, China wanted to build set up shop in Mexico, what would we do, Pat? I'm just asking you guys. What would we do if they came and they're like, hey, listen, we're going to go to Mexico. We're going to put up a couple of missiles.
I mean, like Cuban Missile Crisis.
That's what
Kennedy said, get your crap out of Cuba. It's too close to me.
Yeah, and what almost happened?
Well, yeah, we almost launched missiles, went to war, but they blinked and they pulled the missiles out of Cuba.
Yeah, and here's the problem. We're not even able to hear what Russia is saying because remember, the EU banned the platforming of Russian media. RT News and Sputnik, we can't even see what they're saying. They pulled out all the way that we could communicate or even talk to these people.
So this guy sent me a Manect,
yeah.
Okay? And he's leaning towards a Ukraine argument, Tom. And here's what he told me, okay?
Okay.
And Tom, I'm going to go to the U.S. Embassy closing in Kyiv, and I want to get your thoughts on that as well here in a minute. But I want you to see what this guy said. Reasonable guy. I would like to offer a different perspective on the situation in Ukraine. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, Ukraine inherited a large portion of its nuclear arsenal, making it the third largest nuclear power at the time. Think about it. That's 33 years ago. Ukraine was number 3. 33 years ago, Ukraine's number 3 in the world.
Okay? In terms of total bombs.
In terms of total bombs, that's a freaking lot of power, right?
Of course.
Yes. So most people forget that in 94, Ukraine agrees to dismantle its nuclear arsenal in exchange for security assurances from Russia, the U.S., and the UK, formalized in the Budapest Memorandum. The process was strongly encouraged by the U.S. under President Bill Clinton. Imagine agreeing with a neighbor to give up your guns on the promise they'll protect you if danger arises. Later, their friends start shooting at you, and you're only given tools to protect your yard, not yourself. Now Russia strikes Ukraine weekly with hundreds of drones and rockets, targeting civilians in all cities, causing massive casualties. If this were a business deal, how important do you think the ethical aspects of such an agreement would be, and how would you handle this situation? Tom?
Wow. Well, it was Russia, the U.S., and UK, I think, that were, at the end of World War II, that were sitting there talking about Germany. Remember that? There's the 3 of them sitting there. And then later, Russia broke ranks, and Germany's Germany, the Berlin Wall, and everything with it. So there is something to be said here, is that there was a treaty that was put in place, and then there's a couple things that happened. One, suddenly the U.S. and U.S. proxies in NATO were trying to get the Ukraine to join, and then Russia, who's in the treaty, goes, whoa, wait a minute. We have this treaty here. I told you I didn't want Ukraine in NATO. Russia has never wavered on not wanting Ukraine to be part of NATO. I thought we had a treaty here. So Russia feels that the West instigated NATO and pissed it off. The West is saying, dude, after the Soviet Union, you're just trying to rebuild everything back together. You're trying to put Humpty Dumpty together again. And you want Crimea specifically. You want the access to the Black Sea and all this. And so in terms of a business deal, it's like, people on both sides messed with it, but then Russia went and got active on a military basis. They started not just lawsuits; they went after it.
What's your position on what he said? This message that he sent me,
Pat. This is where I'm coming from.
I think it's.
I know. I think
stay on this point. Stay on this point. What he's saying. So what he's saying is this is important because to some of the Ukraine. The other day, I'm in a car in Orlando yesterday. We're driving. The driver's Russian. And I'm trying to kind of get a feel. I said, hey, do you work for the guys? Yes. So I said, I can't really openly talk to my employees about what we're thinking about doing with the event here. He said, I totally understand. I said, so where are you from, Russia? When did you leave 25 years ago? How's the situation? My brother's still living there. What happened when you came here? My husband and I are here. Our family's here. When's the last time you went to Russia? I haven't gone for 25 years. How do you feel about Putin? He says, I love Putin 2 years ago. Everybody hates Putin right now in Russia. Why is that? Everyone's afraid of him. Why do they afraid of him? Because he's become a dictator. So I'm thinking this girl is going to be a pro-Ukraine liberal type of person. I said, so how do you feel about Trump? She says, well, I know I can talk to you. We love him. I said, who loves him? He says, everybody in Russia loves Trump. I said, well, so let me get this straight. Russians right now are upset with Putin, but they love Trump? Yes. Why? He says, imagine if your kids died for a war that you don't want to be a part of, and there's a guy that can come and stop the war. So the position he's taken, she was a pro-Trump, anti-Putin because they just want people to stop dying.
Yeah, they want
What
peace.
an interesting perspective. This is a reasonable person we're talking to, right? But this guy is saying, hey, man, what the hell? We made a deal in 1991, 33 years ago. We gave you everything. We were number 3 in the world. We could have been a force to be reckoned with. And now you're attacking us? What's that all about? What do you say to that guy?
Who's he saying that's attacking him?
He's saying now we're defending, we're okay with Russia attacking Ukraine, and you're allowing that war happen. Why is Russia attacking Ukraine? Their job was to defend us because we gave all our nuclear weapons. I have an argument. I want to know what you think about it.
I honestly, it hits me.
Okay. Vinny, Adam, what would you say to that?
So you don't need to play the video. It'll be important to show these images. I was just in Washington, D.C. It was the 1,000th day anniversary, so to speak, of the Ukraine-Russian war. And I said, listen, I have this opportunity to speak with Ukrainian soldiers in front of the White House. Let me seize the moment here, right? So I speak with this guy. I don't know if you have the other video as well. Interviewing actual soldiers. One of the guys had his limbs blown off. He's in a wheelchair, but there's American flags, there's Ukrainian flags. I'm like, hey guys, I just want to ask you guys some questions, see what you got going on here. Here's my biggest takeaways from this. I believe that Donald Trump has the ability to win a Nobel Peace Prize if he can end this war. And he said on record, he believes that he can stop the war and possibly before he even takes office, right? He said that. By the way, do you know Barack Obama won a Nobel Peace Prize? Do you know how soon into his presidency he won a Nobel Peace Prize?
2 months?
I think it was 270 days. I think it was immediately after he took office.
Somehow Tom knows this ridiculous number. Damn. It was 9 months into him taking office.
Yeah.
9 months.
Yeah.
And he won it on the inspiration of hope, not because he did anything per se, because he was an inspiring hope. So it was
a big speech at the Berlin Wall.
There it was. So some of his accomplishments were he was strengthening international diplomacy. Some may say he was doing an apology tour for America, right? He was encouraging nuclear disarmaments, even though it didn't necessarily begin at that point. And he was, again, renewing the climate of hope. So he came in with this hope and change, but nothing necessarily is manufactured. But it's now officially the 1,000th day. I think we're in 1001.
What are you saying to this guy? We were on this topic.
So here's
What's
my
your point with this guy?
After interviewing this guy, I said, what do you think should happen in the war? And he was the spokesperson. He goes, Putin is Hitler, this whole talking point. I'm like, Putin is Hitler? That's what you're giving me? And I said, a lot of people in America have heard this about Trump. Trump's Hitler. the whole Hitler thing, it's being watered down and it's basically being marginalized. Hitler killed 6 million Jews.
Adam, what is
however
the
many-
point with this guy saying the fact that stay on this point? You just went 3 topics that we could have gone later.
I didn't really necessarily know what this guy's point is. I have a point though.
But no, it's your point on this point. I'll come back to
What would you like me to respond to exactly?
You didn't hear anything I said?
I
did. Read it twice.
I did.
Okay, so what do you have to say about what the guy says?
I think that I don't even know what this guy said. to be
Okay,
honest with
so
you.
then hang tight. I'll come back to you on the
Yeah.
point you're making. I understand the point you were trying to make about nuclear, what do you call it? The Nobel
Disarmament,
Prize for
yes.
him to get because of what he could do. I agree.
Why is this guy's point so important?
The reason why, because there is a split where some people are like, well, are you okay with this happening, et cetera, et cetera. This happened at a different time that the negotiation took place in 91. Putin's sitting there saying, that was your mistake. Why would you even do that in the first place? You should have never given it up. You gave it up for exchange. That was your bad negotiation. So if you had a leader that negotiated in a weak way for your country, you pay a price for that. You voted for that person. You guys chose to give that up. You didn't have to give it up, right? You didn't have to do that. And then at the same side, when some of the Ukrainians are like, well, what do you want them to do? Well, gradually, these guys have been getting closer and closer to NATO, so both ways promises are not being kept. If your promise was you're not going to go be part of NATO, and now you're pursuing it, and then they're going to be like, if you're not holding the end of the bargain of you not even getting close to NATO, you are getting close to NATO, you are getting close to all these guys, anything we ever negotiated in the past is over with. Anything we negotiated in the past is over with. That's the point with what this guy is saying. He's saying that it's not fair what took place. 1, you had a bad deal. 2, once you don't keep the end of your bargain, you're right. You lose all of it. However, while this is taking place, Tom, what kind of a sign is it when U.S. closes embassy in Kyiv over potential significant air attacks as tensions with Russia? So, Rob, I think you have this clip here on what they're saying. If you want to play this clip, go for it.
In the last few minutes, the United States has announced it is closing its embassy in Kyiv today and instructing employees there to shelter. That's after receiving what it describes as specific information of a potentially significant air attack. Well, overnight, Ukraine's military says Kyiv's air defense units were deployed in defense of the city. Witnesses told the Reuters news agency that they heard multiple blasts.
Okay, so that's happening. Escalation's happening, World War III. He's dropping bombs to tell you, if I had a warhead in there, I would destroy you. All of this is going on simultaneously. Trump, I believe he said somewhere that I may have to go to Russia now to stop it. By the way, if he goes and stops this war, Ukraine-Russia, if he goes and stops everything that's going on with Israel, and if he does, the idea that he deserves a Nobel Prize would be a what? An understatement. You make a very good point if he does that. I mean, that is arguably, who would disagree? By the way, Tom, what is the process of Nobel Prize? If he's able to do that, who nominates? Because most of the Nobel winners are on the left.
Yeah, exactly. The Nobel Prizes, you can go look this up, are given through an arcane nomination process, and they go into a back room and they decide who they're going to give it to. And the Nobel Peace Prize is basically a political football. You look around the world at people that have really caused peace, and you have Obama made a couple speeches as soon as he was inaugurated in 2009. Oh my goodness, we give it for fostering an environment of peace. He didn't do anything. Remember, Jimmy Carter actually got, Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat, correct?
Yeah,
to come to Camp David for a week and to hash it out. So for all the things that Jimmy Carter did to the economy, there's somebody actually doing something. Now it's a backroom deal. It's like, it doesn't have a lot of credibility with the mainstream populace because they look at it and said, no, this is a liberal think tank that just hands them out. Now, the medicine ones and the mathematical ones are a little more quantitative, like, did you really do something? But the Nobel Peace Prize is like, you today I look at it and it's, you get to be king of the liberal think tank. That's what it meant. Is that you were in line with the liberal think tank, you said some nice things, did some things, here's your Peace Prize.
And going back to what you asked, when you're closing an embassy, that means it's about to go down, Pat. That means it's about to happen. And the fact that I was on the show the other day, they're like, oh, Putin's already threatened nuclear war before. It's at a point right now, especially with this administration that just wants a war. I don't know why a lot of people out there aren't getting it. And they're like, no, he's done this before. I don't care about the threats. You don't play around with somebody that's talking about this type of escalation this fast. And we know Anthony Blinken is in front of the camera going, hey, we got to hurry up and send $8 billion of our dollars to them before January 20th. They're trying to rush this thing. They want a war with this guy. And I don't think, Pat,
all
he's playing
available
games.
appropriations left in 2024. We need to use them.
Yeah, do you think you think Putin is kind of just jokingly threatening nukes?
Well, let me tell you, Macron called him and said, hey, don't do anything, man. Hang tight. And I'm telling you right now, Trump is the only guy that he's willing to negotiate with because he believes Trump's going to keep the deal. By the way, Brandon just sent me this here, going back to telling you a little bit about history. In 1990, Gorbachev accepted Germany's reunification and its continued membership in NATO under the explicit condition that NATO would not expand past Germany.
Okay.
Past Germany. U.S. Secretary of State James Baker, read a book on this guy's phenomenal, interesting guy, hated by some, loved by some, but definitely respected. German Chancellor Helmut Kohl, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher made verbal assurances to Soviet leader Gorbachev that in February 1990, Baker famously told him that NATO would move not 1 inch eastward beyond Germany. And what happened? They moved. What do you think he's going to do? You didn't keep the end of the deal.
That's exactly what I was talking about. And remember, you asked me the other day, the Tuesday podcast, you said, what do you think Putin does? And I said, I think he's got to do something, and I think he's got to drop something on an urban city. Remember I commented that he's got to make a thing. So what did he do? He launched long ranges, and the long range things dropped in some areas that didn't cause a lot of damage, thank God. But what did he say?
He said,
I can come all the way from here to your front door, dude.
Yep.
Do not screw with this. And
But let me ask you, Tom. Go to it. Go to there, and Adam, I'm going to come to you with this one.
And I agree. Trump's got to be the guy to come in there and say, Vlad, I get it, but you got to calm down.
And by the way, remember, multiple presidents from Russia asked to join NATO each time they were turned down. Why'd you turn down the membership? What's your point? Well, if I'm willing to join, why are you turning it down? Why are you not interested? Why does Clinton first say, yes, let's talk about joining NATO, and then 8 minutes later, whatever it is, well, not right now, maybe later. Yeah. Why not? We had interest to wanting to have peace. So this is the part where, you hear the pundits, what they're saying. You hear what streets, the people, the voters are saying. You hear what the actual leaders are saying, their argument, Putin's argument, Zelensky's argument. You hear all they're saying, and then you have to sit there and be like, dude. And then you go study a little bit of history on what happened in the past. Like, look, this didn't just accidentally happen, right? You don't just one day wake up and say, yeah, let's go attack them. No, you've been poking the bear. So, question here. What does Zelensky need to do? That's what the sound is. It's this chair that keeps making that sound. Back up a little bit. That keeps hitting the bottom of it. I keep hearing this.
Put this down.
Yeah, this is what's making the sound. I'm like, what is that sound?
I'm so sorry, man. This is my first time.
We thought there was a mouse in here rapping.
Listen, but let me tell you this. So, so far, here's what we've learned. How many Russians have died?
Hundreds of thousands.
No, I hear 500,000 to 1 million.
Yeah. Russians.
And
what about
same as well?
I think it's even, Stephen. Some say more Russians than Ukrainians. Some say more Ukrainians.
Before you even pull this up,
depends on who's writing it.
I've actually read on this. They said collectively, there's been collective 1 million people either dead or injured.
That's
okay, so now watch this.
We're not talking tens of thousands.
No.
We're talking hundreds of thousands, possibly even million plus.
But here's the point. So you are the leader of Russia. Think like him. Former KGB, strategic. You are all about USSR. You are about that.
Yes.
Right? Okay. They killed 500,000 of your people. You threaten with a nuclear weapon. You do nothing. They keep attacking. They say, let's accelerate the process of going to NATO. Zelensky keeps coming to U.S. and U.S. defends him. EU defends him. Everybody's taking his sides. They keep giving him money, right? Weapons, everything, whatever way you want to say it. Long-range missiles. You do it, I'm gonna drop a nuclear weapon on you. He does it. Biden says do it. U.S. says do it. They do it. You now are sitting here with your handlers. You have a countdown. You know how you're in the military, you can't wait to get out of boot camp and you go like this? You know which one I'm talking about. Like you're in jail, you're counting, you do these, this is how many days I got. I mean, I remember my locker had this with boot camp, right? We're going through it. You're counting down 60 until Trump's here. A guy that you can negotiate with. Tough guy, but at least you can negotiate with. What does Zelensky have to do now? What else can Zelensky do for you to use a nuclear weapon? What? It's either nothing, he can spit in your face, and you're not going to do anything. So guess what? Imagine if you're fighting somebody, you spit in the guy's face. He's been telling you he's going to nuke you. He's been telling you he's going to punch you in the face. You push him, doesn't punch. You kick him, doesn't punch. You call his girl out, doesn't punch. You throw a rock at him, doesn't punch. You hit him with a bat, doesn't punch. You spit him in the face, he doesn't punch. What does it tell you eventually? This guy's not going to punch. Mm-hmm. Or what needs to happen for you to throw the punch that you claim you're going to throw? Mm-hmm. Maybe Putin is just not going to do it. It's either your risk is you have two choices, okay? You have a hand. Everything's out. You know you have a decent hand. But you know that guy's been chasing the flush. And the last one, a hard hit, 6 of hearts. There's 3 hearts that you're like, oh, shit. If that guy's got it, do you go all in to call his bluff? What do you do? He's playing poker right now with the world. Mm-hmm. So the risk is, you know what? F it. Putin's not going to do shit. And you're right. So let's go through it.
Okay.
He's not going to do shit. Okay? And you're right. Okay? Or guess what? You're going to attack him and he is going to do shit and you're wrong.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the deal. Or you don't do anything and you wait. So we do nothing. Do nothing till Trump. Okay? Which if Zelensky really wants the relationship, you do nothing till Trump is here. Because what he's doing right now, he's not helping his relationship with Trump. What are you doing? Mm-hmm. What are you doing? You're listening to Biden? You think you're leveraging your negotiation better when I come in? This is what you're doing? And then you want to have a relationship with me, and in my face, you know you're saying you're still going to shoot long-range missiles. You're listening to Biden over me. He's only going to be here for 60 days. No problem, guy, when I come in, right? That's the part that they're flirting with. But so far, Putin's proven he's not going to pull nuclear.
But Pat, that same chart that you have with the 60, Anthony Blinken, Jake Sullivan, all these defense contracting billionaire companies, they all have that chart too, and their attitude's opposite. Their attitude is like, listen, we need a war. What are we going to keep doing to get it with this guy if we think he's not going to do it? But I think anything that flirts with nuclear war they need to stop because that's what they're trying to do.
Think like Putin and his people, Tom.
Correct.
Think like them.
And by the way, strongmen have been saying, oh, I'm going to do nukes. I'm going to do the big bombs. They've been saying it for generations, right? How many times do they say it against Israel? One more time and we will bring the fires of hell. One more time and we will unleash everything we have, even if they're not nukes, right? This is the way strongmen talk. But what you have to respect is Putin. And I think that there's a bunch of people out there that want folks to believe that Putin's on the edge of doing it. We got to do this. I don't think Joe Biden said squat. I believe that comment was placed and put by Blinken and the shadow government that's there behind him that want this war. This war has been the biggest money laundering effort in the history of the last 100 years. Those dollars, half of them are making U-turns and coming back to U.S. defense contractors. Because when I give him $1 billion to go buy tanks, where does he get the tanks?
From us.
He calls General Dynamics. Hey, I need 5 Model 7s and 44 Model 8s. Can you FedEx them? Can I pay for Amazon Prime? Can I get them by Thursday? You know, that's what's going on here. And right now, there are people that want the economic benefit of war because of a huge economic benefit to the USA and the huge manipulative benefit that the globalists want. That's what they want. But I don't think Putin's going to take the next move. I said he had to show something. He had to show a response. So he just showed that he could launch.
What does Zelensky or U.S. have to do for him to drop a nuclear bomb next 60 days? Nothing? Nothing?
I don't think
flirt with his girl. Talk to his wife. What do they need to do for him to do anything?
Look, I don't think
the answer is either something or nothing.
I don't think there's anything that Zelensky can do short of a really highly escalated, like a military weapon.
Like what, though, Tom?
No, if Zelensky...
I know, but what? Like if he uses what?
I have an idea.
Well, no, remember, he's launching these... Zelensky launched things into Russia into military backup. So he launched them into supply lines. He didn't go further than that. If Zelensky was you understand what I'm saying? If he goes to a real Russian target, I think Putin will step. But he's only been launching to backup supply lines and where the troops are.
Yeah.
Okay, so why is he not launching?
Who, Putin?
What is his fear of not launching?
If Zelensky escalates this,
yes,
he's a dead man. I happen to think that right now Zelensky is probably a dead man.
What does that mean?
I think that what's about to happen is they're going to calm this war down. Russia's going to take Crimea. There's going to be a border similar to North Korea and the DMZ. The West has been doing that way, similar to the West Bank between Egypt and Israel. This is how modern wars have been solved. And Russia's going to get a strip. Russia's going to get Crimea. Russia's going to get what it's want. All of our media is going to say, see, Trump gave it the sovereign territory back to him. But it's been happening over and over. And then I think the thing calms down. And then I think somebody, whether it's the other side of Ukraine, remember there's a whole other side in Ukraine that does not like Zelensky. He took out other guys. There's people that don't like that, and Putin doesn't like that. I think Zelensky gets assassinated.
Well,
I don't mean tomorrow morning, but I don't think Zelensky lives to see the end of the next 4 years.
And let's not forget maybe a rogue element. Like, remember the movie Sum of All Fears? All you need is some rogue element to go into Russia, PBD, with a tactical nuke or something smaller and detonate it, and then it's over.
Rapid fire. I think, listen, nobody, and I mean nobody, wants a nuclear war. And there's a lot of rhetoric out there, but I think everybody understands that once nuclear war starts, nobody wins. Both sides are going to have death and destruction. America, at the very least, understands the fact that we have the greatest defense mechanism of all time, and it's called the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, and we're not in this world. Number two.
Well, it's not the war, it's the climate change. It's a nuclear winter, and it's the fallout.
Nobody wants it, is my point. Number two, I think if anything happened to Moscow or the capital, St. Pete, anything like that, we'd have some issues on our hands. That's why they're kind of dealing with certain components of where they're at on the border. Number three, Tom made a great point. You know how much money has gone to Ukraine from the United States and the EU?
200 billion?
According to the stats, Ukraine, this is before they've even sent it, 175 billion from the US, 100 billion from the EU. You know, you talk about what's going on in Israel. Since 1948, 75 plus years, you know how much the aid the United States have given to Israel? 158 billion. In 75 plus years, it doesn't equal what they've given to Ukraine in 2 years. Jeez. Follow the money. You know, we talked about this about a year ago. The most corrupt country in all of Europe, the EU, is number one, Russia. Number two is Ukraine. So who knows where all this money is going, where all this money is flowing. Follow the money. But here's the thing. Trump wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. A deal's got to get done here. Nobody has the stomach to sustain this war anymore.
I'm just telling you, everybody in the world, including in Europe or surrounding countries and U.S., 60 days can't come fast enough. That's all I'm telling you. 60 days can't come fast enough because this could have been an opportunity for Biden to intercept Trump's, opportunity to save the day and bring these two guys together and stop the war. Instead, he's hurting his legacy if this thing continues this way. If there is one in this situation,
quick question for you, PBD.
Nobel Sleep Prize.
You know how you always talk about who's in your ear, who's in your ear. Who do you think Putin actually respects and is in his ear? Trump, possibly one of them. I mean, if you go down the list of who are Russia's allies, number one, I think, is Belarus. Nobody's intimidated by Belarus. Then you have China. Then you have Bashar al-Assad in Syria.
North Korea.
You got North Korea. You got Cuba. You got Venezuela. Who actually would Putin listen to and say, all right, man, it's time to end this war? Who do you think he would actually listen to?
I think it's going to be Xi or Trump. I think it's those two. He knows. Listen, when you've been in a room with, you're 16 years old. Somebody did something to one of our friend's sisters. Not like this has happened to me. I'm just telling a story. You're 16 years old. You're in a room. It's like, listen, guys, that guy did this to my sister, and here's what's going on. Really? Yeah. You're in a room with 5 of your friends, okay? It's very simple. And you're let's just say you're the head guy, that you say, hey, what did they do to your sister? They did this. Really? Who? Boom. Seriously, yeah. One guy says, we should kill him. So you already know that guy's who? That guy's the North Korea guy. Goes straight to what? We should kill him. Everybody has that one friend. One guy says, dude, it's not a big deal. Let's just kind of move on. I mean, it's going to happen. You know who that guy is. He's the one that's afraid of conflict. This guy just wants conflict, right? Then you got the one guy that says, well, have you spoken to him yet? Why don't we go talk to him? And if they don't give the respect, guess what? He has to know you can't do stuff like that, okay? And then this guy says what? I'm game. Whatever's going on, you tell me. Hey, I can't tell you what we're doing. I can't tell you this. You know, go ahead and say the line.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're going to hurt some people.
Whose car are we taking?
Oh, I love that guy.
So that's this guy.
Yeah.
But this is the guy you need to listen to. This is the guy that's reason. He's the pansy. He's the killer. This guy's like the flag carrier, but this guy's the reason, voice of reason. You have to listen to this guy. Trust me, Putin knows who wants the war. Putin knows who's afraid. Putin knows who's like this ride or die. But it's not a reason guy. And Putin knows who's the voice. He knows this guy's been with gangsters. You know when you're dealing with that community who to listen to, who not to listen to. He can't wait to sit down and negotiate with somebody that can actually deliver. And that guy's name is Trump, but he's got to wait 60 days. Anyways, we'll see what's going to happen. God willing, nothing happens, folks. And, you know, a lot of good news. And if there's not a Nobel Prize, you know, maybe they'll give him a different kind of a prize, a George Washington Prize. I don't know what they do here, but there's going to be some kind of recognition of peace going to Trump if Nobel doesn't want to give it to him. Let's go to the next one. So here's a story with tariffs that I want to get into. So all this conversation about tariffs, Target, the stock drops nearly 20% after earnings call falls short. Now, why is Target important? Who shops at Target?
Mainstream America.
Mainstream America. FYI, we're always at Target ourselves because, you know, we may have money, but we kind of like to. Like to go to Target as well or Walmart. I respect both of those places.
Save that money.
Target shares drops 18%. That's a $10 billion day that we're talking about. Okay, literally. 18%. May of 22nd, we're up third quarter, $25 billion in revenue. Missing estimates by 2.3 shares of $25.9 billion. And a market reacts. Then, Forbes story, tariffs will probably cause Walmart price hikes, CFO says. Forceful tariffs promoted by Trump would likely lead to higher prices for consumers, according to a top executive at Walmart, the U.S.'s largest company by revenue. Notable warning on the potential inflationary effects of Trump's favorable trade policy tool. There probably will be cases where prices will go up for consumers. And Walmart's chief financial officer told CNBC the impact of this prices of roughly 10% tax on all imports and 60% tax on Chinese imports backed by Trump. Tariffs are inflationary for customers. Rainey added, of course, you know which way he voted. It's not immediately clear how quickly tariffs will be implemented. The odds of 10% across the board tariffs in 2025 are low, wrote J.P. Morgan's chief U.S. economist Michael Ferroli, right? Then Ford to cut 14% of European jobs. They're worried. What the hell is going on with tariffs? It's a real thing that a lot of people are worried about. Now, Lutnick, which, by the way, Howard Lutnick, first of all, he's on fire, and the way he speaks, you'll like to listen to him. He has the ability to go and use his fire that he has, and at the same time, Rob, this is a tweet that you have, and he has the ability to reason and use math and common sense. But the way he explains the history of what happened with tariffs and how it was, then explaining Germany, how much tariffs they give us, and there's no Ford. We talked about this on one of the tariffs videos we made. This is pure common sense. Go ahead and listen to this, folks.
We can't sell a Ford or GM in Europe. You go to Europe, you can't sell a Ford or GM. Why? There's 100% tariffs. How about in Japan? 100% tariffs. So do you think if we said, we're going to tariff you the way you tariff us, do you think they're going to allow Mercedes and all these Japanese companies and Porsches and BMWs to all of a sudden have 100% tariffs in America? Of course not. They're going to come and negotiate, and their tariffs are going to come down. And finally, Ford and General Motors are going to be able to sell in these places.
How's that sound?
Of course they're going to come down. Of course. This is just negotiating.
It absolutely makes sense. If you do it strategically, if it's across the board, it creates a real problem. And the question is whether you believe the president is going to do it strategically or across the board. He keeps saying it across the board.
Well, when you're running for office, you make broad statements so people understand you. Right. Okay? Tariffs are an amazing tool by the president to use. They're an amazing tool, but he understands, don't tariff stuff we don't make, right? If we don't make it, and you want to buy it, I don't want to put the price up there. It's pointless. But use tariffs to build in America. If we want to make it in America, tariff it. Or if we're competing with it, tariff it. But you got to remember, we need to protect the American worker. Finally, someone's going to protect the American worker. And Donald Trump is here to protect the American worker.
Do you think we make a lot of money in tariffs, or if they're used as negotiating tactics? Look, tariffs will come down there. We're not going to have super high tariffs here either. There's not going to be a big pot of money at the end of the day.
I love that story. So which is it? Do we make a lot of money on tariffs, or we bring productivity here and we drive up our workers here? So it's a win-win scenario. I like both of them. I think what's going to happen is we'll make a bunch of money on the tariffs, but mostly everybody else is going to negotiate with us, and we will be more fair. In 1948, right, we came up with something called the Marshall Plan, right? The world, Germany and Japan were destroyed after World War II, and we wanted to export our economy to them. So we made a rule. They could tariff us, and we won't tariff them. So they can rebuild.
This is the best explanation I've heard of.
So they can rebuild their economy. We rebuilt their economy using something called the Marshall Plan. Yeah. Our economy is so awesome that we'll use it to help you rebuild. When should that have ended? What do you think, 1980? Right? 1985? I mean, why 40 years are Japan and Germany and all of Europe still tariffing the heck out of our auto industry, tariffing the heck out of our furniture industry?
There you go.
Do you realize all your furniture you're buying that's made foreign? It seems crazy. Why? It's because they tariff us and we don't tariff them. It's so obvious.
I'm with it. I am with it. Tom, go for it.
Well, common sense enters the arena. And I think people of all walks of life should listen to that and understand what's going on. And the negotiator at the table is going to be Donald Trump. And that one reporter there, Aaron Sorkin, he's like, well, he keeps saying across the board. And he knows that Trump doesn't mean across the board. And he had to kind of correct him and saying, look, you're saying that during an election. And people say across the board because they want to make it sound like Trump is going to hurt us and prices are going to go up and all these things are going to happen. I'm going to get to the Walmart guy in just a second. Instead, he's out to negotiate with people so it's a fair playing field and American workers can be making cars that are bought by French citizens. And for French citizens who don't want to buy the Peugeot anymore, which is probably a good idea, maybe someday you'll be able to buy a Ford EV or a Mustang and see American ingenuity and American entrepreneurship and the American brand come to you at an affordable price. He's absolutely right. And guess what? Donald Trump is going to be the negotiator in chief, and this is going to turbocharge what's happening in the economy. Now, what are people saying? What are the liberal media saying? Your prices are going up because of Trump. Prices are going up because they're already trying to throw the peanut butter at him and see what's going to stick. But you know what? Even the guy at Walmart said, we don't really see a 10% hike coming across the board. We don't see that happen. We think the odds of that in 25 are low. But what is the headline that Forbes, owned by the Chinese, that puts up there? What is the headline? The headline is, it's going to cause price hikes. Trump's going to cause it to you. He's not even in there in a position where he can actually help, and they're already going after it. But if you haven't heard this, watch this. Have your kids in high school and college watch this.
By the way,
this is the best explanation and common sense explanation that you have, that it was American benevolence to help these countries rebuild.
Here's what it is, parenting, right? I mean, the easiest way to bring it to the average day-to-day person to hear is the following. Tom, give me 5 different types of parents on how they punish their kids. Remember, when I say 5 different types, super strict. Like, imagine that same story I just gave with the 5 examples of a friend that want to go to fight the girl, the sisters, the 5 guys. You got the guy that wants to kill, the guy that wants to avoid the fight. Give me 5 types parents discipline their kids.
Okay, we'll start at the most aggressive. 1 strike, you're grounded, and they make it stick. Very let's call that the boot camp military parent. They're fair, they're not beating their kids, but it's 1 strike and you're grounded, or you sit in a corner, you have timeout or whatever. Then you get to the people, maybe it's the 3-strike people.
Three-strike rule.
Three-strike rule.
Yep.
Then you get to the middle, the negotiator, where you see a kid having a fit having a tantrum at Target. No, Jeremy. No, Jeremy. I'll give you ice cream.
Yeah.
The negotiator parent.
That's right.
And then you've got the threaten and do nothing. And then lastly, you've got the absent parent. There is no discipline, and they expect the schools to do it. I kind of see and by the way, Kim has educated me on 4 of these because she sees it in classrooms every day.
That's why I ask you, because you're in it every day. By the way, I would even put one past the one-strike guy. Yeah. You know what the other one is? The one that punches you, hits you, sticks, ass whooping, belt, whatever you want to call it. That's the fully that one.
I was thinking boot camp, so I'm being...
Right.
He's almost there.
No, but it's still...
We know how you were raised, Tom. There's some of us that...
But guess what?
Met the belt or the fist or the bat.
But guess what? No matter what you do, you build a reputation. And once as a parent you have a reputation, you don't need to... There's not much you can do to rebuild that reputation. Meaning, if you're tough, it's not going to happen. Listen, bro, don't do it. Yep. If they can get whatever they want from you, they're like, listen, don't try to act tough. We know who you are. You're easy. You're going to give me the candy, okay? And I'm going to eat that chocolate and the ice cream. There's nothing you can do about it.
That's right. Just
they
negotiate
say that
with
in their head. They're saying that in their head. When it comes down to tariffs, here's how it works. Some presidents are like, look, why don't you just buy some Ford from us? And Germany says, no. But please. But no. But why don't you? Because you're a moron. And I'm tariffing you 100% and you're now do nothing to me. You're letting me sell you BMW, Mercedes, and everything, and you're literally the worst negotiator I've ever dated in my life. And you don't have a backbone. You're weak. Got it. Then this other guy shows up. All right. Can you tell me why you tariff us 100% if we sell our cars in your country and we do nothing? Oh, it's just an agreement that we made 48 years ago.
It's a tradition.
I don't give a shit. Why do you do this? Well, listen, here's what we got. You got 30 days to lower that 100% tariff to 0 and commit to buying $50 billion of our cars every year, or else we're taking it to 100%. All your cars come in here. I'm going to sell my cars in America. Quite frankly, our cars are better than yours and cheaper than yours. Screw you. What do you want to do, BMW, Mercedes? Oh, they're like, oh, shit. There's a new sheriff in town that I got to be careful with. This is the whole concept of pow-pow and disciplining your kids and negotiating.
Yeah.
Very simple.
You don't want pow-pow.
Some parents are like, but no, it's just a child. The guy's 12 years old. He's not a child. It's just a kid. Like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? You know at 6 years old when there's got to be some disciplines in place, right? Like right now with Brooklyn. Brooklyn knows. You know, we go to dinner, we go to Chops.
Yeah.
Well, where does Brooklyn sit?
She sits next to you.
Every time. Yeah. And she goes like this, Daddy, what does she say?
By the way, like right off the rip, she goes, Daddy, I'm going to eat all my chicken and all my pasta because I don't want to get pop-pop because you don't want to get ice cream at the end of this.
Right.
She's negotiating before the meal.
And
we haven't even met the waiter yet.
I know go time out.
I'm not going to go time out. I don't want pop-pop.
I know go time out. So if she goes, now we have a basic rule in our family.
The ice cream here is good.
Yeah. I don't give the girls pop-outs. The boys, it's a different story. Yeah. Mommy gives the girls pop-outs. And it's a different story. But timeout, God forbid you put Brooklyn in timeout.
She hates it.
Oh, and I'll put her there for 15 minutes. And I'll say, you can cry for 45 minutes. I'll leave you here. I said, the moment you're done crying, I'll come back to you. So she'll go 10, 15. I'm like, Melba's like, Daddy, I gotta put baby to sleep. I said, nope, she needs to learn. Mm-hmm. 15 minutes. You ready? I'm ready. And I come. I'm like, so, are you good? Yes. Are you done? Yes. All right. Who loves you? Daddy. You going to do this again? No. All right, let's go over there. We go over there. Boom. We're good. Come back. So now she knows what happens. But you set the tone. So to me, tariffs, I'm actually excited to see what's going to be happening. I love the way Howard Lutnick broke it down. And for the people that are pro, anti, whatever position you have, just remember styles of parenting. If you're a soft parent, you probably don't want any tariffs. But if you're a tough parent because you work your ass off and you deliver a good life to your kids and you expect a little bit more than the average parent that's worried about walking on eggshells and their kids control them, you're probably going to be a guy that's going to be pro-tariffs. But that's how simple that argument is. It is a tool that we must use to bring back business here. However, there is a however, Tom. I met with my Goldman Sachs guy yesterday. Yeah. Yesterday or 2 days? 2 days ago, right? Yesterday we were in Orlando. And I said, so what's Goldman Sachs' position now that Trump's president? And he says, well, the last 10 years, S&P did 13%. Since 1930, S&P did 11%. I said, what does Goldman Sachs think S&P is going to do the next 10 years? He said, we're at 3 to 6% annual growth. I said, really? Why is that? He says, well, the moment Trump got elected, interest rates went up. Tom, you saw this. Yep. He says, the reason why interest rates went up is because a lot of people were worried that inflation's going to hit, inflation's not going to settle down, tariffs are going to be an issue, companies are not going to make as much profits to reinvest into the company, and we still don't know, but that was the market's reaction to it. You'll know if that's real or not within 6 to 12 months. That's how long. We'll know by about June. Would you agree, Tom, that about June or November, we'll know if it's real or not?
Yeah, we'll know. Actually, we'll know probably April and May because the Secretary of Treasury will be put in place, and we'll know about the Trump tax plan, which is the thing that he can do definitively for the economy.
Right.
Everything else, we kind of wait and see it shake out.
6 months. We'll know about 6 months, right? April, May. Okay. So that's the part where, you have to kind of know that there is a possible, like when you are strong negotiating with somebody, until the deal is done, there is a lot of turbulence during that period. So if this tariff negotiation lasts 12 months, the economy is going to be a little bit in a shake. It's going to be like shaky. But once everybody agrees with the terms 12 months from now, it's going to go like this, my opinion. But there's going to be a season of 12 months of people being worried a little bit still, Tom.
I think we really need to be very, very patient with 2025 because I'll tell you a couple moves. I've been thinking about the tariff thing ever since I saw Lutnick's video, and I'm like, wow, what a great way to put it. So BMW built a massive manufacturing plant to build BMWs in the U.S. in South Carolina. Then Mercedes built a massive plant in Alabama, right near Tuscaloosa, right on Highway 10. So as soon as Trump goes tariff, BMW and Mercedes will do furloughs or threaten layoffs of American workers in those cities because they'll want to create headline problems for Trump. And Trump can't blink. You understand? You see where this is going? He can't blink. He's got to say, no, sorry. We're going to have Fords and GM sold over there. I need these tariffs to come off. Because the German government will go back around the tree and whisper to BMW and Mercedes, hey, tell them to do that. Trump needs to get some headline rest. So we need to be patient with it because we can't blink because they will blink first. They will absolutely blink first. We got to be patient with it. Because we talked about the year of investigation and the year of prosecutions and the year of next year is going to be the year of transition in certain things in our economy. And we need to be patient and let the man negotiate and let it come down.
And Howard Lutnick was named what position? Was he the head of commerce? Is that who?
Secretary of Commerce. And I am a happy boy because I don't think they cannot confirm him.
Okay. Well, we're going to see what happens with that. But one of the things that I think this is such an important conversation because there's a lot of people out there, and I'm in business and finance, and I don't basically understand this, and I'm trying to filter it down. One of the things that Trump says that's very memorable when the PBD did the interview with him, he goes, tariffs, they're my favorite word. It's possibly better than the word love. Actually, it is. I love tariffs. I could just see him in bed being like, yeah, you like that tariff?
So dirty.
Anyway, but there is the concept, relax, Tom, excuse me. There is the concept, how Trump's always like, we're being treated very unfairly. The Republican Party since Reagan has always been known as the party of free trade. But now with Trump, it's sort of becoming the party of fair trade. We got to be treated fairly. So I want to see what happens here. And I love the explanation that you did, I don't know, maybe a month ago when you basically said, if I send you 10 referrals, you give me 10 and I give you 100, that doesn't seem pretty fair to me. And then as it escalates, we can understand why America's been treated so unfairly. And then the Marshall Plan was in, 1948? 1948. Then there was the WTO and NAFTA all in basically the mid-90s, 94, 95. So all these things that have sort of been not sort of failing the test of time, we're going to see what Trump does eliminate them.
You realize, if you think about, how many countries' economies America has helped. Just think about that for a second. For as much shit as people say about America, how many countries' economies have we helped? Okay? How many? When they came begging, how many times have we helped? It's amazing on how many we've helped. Look at that right there. The United States has provided foreign aid to over 150 countries, as well as 30 regional funds. And that's great. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about creating commerce, letting them know, hey, you may want to consider doing, and by the way, then there's a counter argument to say, dude, what if we didn't help any of those guys? What if we just focused on ourselves?
Like more of a protectionist type of mentality?
What if we went to 100% tariffs on everything that comes in and 0% taxes on the money you make? When you think about that, anything that comes in, we tariff 100%, so prices will go up. So let's just say this iPhone is $1,400 to buy.
Okay.
But if Trump and them, stay with me here, if they put 100% tariffs on anything coming out to force companies to build in America, and this phone goes from $1,400 to $2,400.
$2,800.
Let's say $2,800, okay? If it goes to $2,800, and the only reason I'm saying 24 is because there's a story that says if iPhones were made in America, it'd be worth $2,400. If it was made elsewhere, so it's an 80% increase.
Okay.
That's why I said $2,400. Now you may say, damn, that's a lot. But what if this shit goes up to $2,400, but you pay no taxes? So imagine you're making $100,000 a year. 30 grand goes to taxes. Now instead of making 70 grand, you're keeping 100 grand. So think about that.
I would do that deal of no taxes all day, every day, every damn day, 24/7.
FYI, you got a Vivek, you got a Musk, okay, you got a Trump, right? You got all these guys. You got the Lutnicks of the world. You got all of these guys in the room together. If they did something revolutionary like that and they tested it for 2 years, and they said, folks, 2027 is the first year where you're not paying any taxes.
Oh, wow. You know what that's called? That's called consumption tax. You pay on what you consume.
VT.
Is that a VAT tax?
VAT tax,
yep,
VAT,
yep. Value-added tax. And you should also think about this, about Europe.
Crazy.
It's cray-cray.
Let's think about, right, is it safe to say that most countries in Europe, almost all of them, now have a very socialist bent and bending away from capitalist principles?
B-E-N-T.
Bent.
They're not bending. It's just a bent.
They're bending the knee to communism. We know
it's
that.
like the wind is blowing them towards socialism.
Bent. Right.
So they're bending. It's just safe to say, right?
Right.
Well, for a bunch of socialists, you sure love market share that you get artificially because of those tariffs.
Zing, Tom.
Because you take the tariffs off and Ford and GM can compete for that market share of cars. So for a bunch of little bloody socialists, you sure like artificial market share. So you're like little closet capitalists.
Pow! I love when Tom gets fired up. I'm glad that it's not in my direction. Next thing you know, I'm going to be a little bit. But Tom,
I got a message for the Chancellor of Commerce in Germany. Du kannst mich mal am Arsch lecken.
Oh, damn! Shots fired! You freaking kraut!
You go watch the
Arsch lecken.
I know what I said. Watch the comments.
Yo, shots fired,
Tom.
bro.
I don't know.
Podcast.
The Jew and me got a little offended right there, but whatever that was.
Let's go to a different story. Let's go because Tom's getting angry. I want to skip it. Let's go to a different story.
He's like slicking that.
That was a little bit too much. That was a little too much.
Tom's licking some ass.
Yeah, so let's go to the next one here. All right, so next, by the way, what a rough week that Sunny from The View, that, she's having such a tough week because she really wants to go after Matt Gaetz, where she is forced to have to do this. If you can play this clip, Rob, before and after, and the way they do it, and then Whoopi says, all right, we'll have to go to commercial break, and we'll be back in a minute. Go ahead, Rob.
How could you nominate someone with allegations of child trafficking across state lines and having sex with a 17-year-old? My understanding further on in the interview, they discussed the fact that once he finds out that she's 17, he stops having sex with her.
Sonny, you have a legal note.
I do have a legal note. Thank you, Whoopi.
How excited she says to read this.
Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism. That DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
We'll be right back.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Why did she look like she was going to cry when she read that?
Why did she have to read that?
Because of two things. First, Gaetz went hard to the hoop with his lawyers and went after ABC And that was the best that they could get them to read. It should have been more than that. It should have been more of an apology. But Gaetz went hard to the hoop and said, no charges are filed against me. And there's a thing in media about absence of malice. Is one of the things we talked about with Will Cain. They had malice. They were absolutely mean-spirited and hateful going after Matt Gaetz on this show. And they got caught. And Gaetz went after him. The second reason they said it is because the ABC attorneys know that Trump is about to name the head of the FCC because he's president. And the head of the FCC has already said that he is going to review CBS and 60 Minutes for the way they edited a presidential candidate interview in the name of campaigning versus straight, honest, neutral news. ABC is seen down the street that the the FCC is going to be coming down the street. Yeah, they're going to be upset. They're going to walk in ABC at CBS. They're going to talk to them. Yeah, we don't want that. So ABC took a step. So 2 points. One, Matt Gaetz and his attorneys got after it, PBD. And number two, there's a new sheriff in town running the FCC. They're already going after CBS, and ABC want none of that.
So here's what I want to do, Tom. Let's go right into what you wanted to talk about with MSNBC numbers, right? And a video, folks, I want to play for you with Bill O'Reilly talking about what could happen to ABC. You have to see this, the way he breaks it down, okay? You have to see it the way he breaks it down. But Tom, why don't you first tell us some of the data you saw with MSNBC? Let me just actually set you up before you go there, because this is by far the best way to set you up. Folks, imagine you're CNN and MSNBC. You're at a point that you're okay losing to Fox. You're at a point that you're okay losing to Rogan. You're at a point that you may even okay losing to other podcasters, right? You know, election night, some people are putting more numbers than you are. We did that on election night. You're like, listen, those guys are amateurs. We're pros. We built the Titanic. The amateurs are building the Joe Rogan Experience, the PBD podcast, all this other stuff. But these are amateurs. But imagine you wake up one day and your producer comes to you and says, guys, what? Hallmark just beat us. Bro, what are you talking about? Hallmark just beat us. Tell me nobody's written that article yet. Bro, they wrote it already. That's bullshit. No. Hallmark?
They make cards.
Give them a Hallmark. Hallmark beat CNN and MSNBC in viewership last week.
No way.
Here's a supersized guide to rating in all 32 new holiday films. Can you imagine that?
Oh, man.
How do you let Hallmark beat you? You can let a lot of people beat you. You cannot let Hallmark beat you. We're talking about practice, right? We're talking about Hallmark. We cannot be talking about Hallmark here, right? I mean, you understand what reference of the great AI. Hallmark Channel ranked as third most popular cable network from Prime and total viewership during the week of November 11th through 17th, averaging 810,000 primetime viewers and 479 daily viewers, surpassing both MSNBC CNN according to Nielsen. This rise coincides with Hallmark's annual countdown to Christmas holiday movie lineup. Hallmark's holiday performing has reached 20.1 million unique viewers on November 19th. In other words, they're kicking CNN and MSNBC's ass. But Tom, why is this happening?
Well, words talk, numbers scream, and then Joe Scarborough cries is what works out. So very interesting stuff here. You take a look at all the cable nets, and the ratings came out from November 11th to 17th. So the week after the election. So the election week goes, the week after that, everything calms down. Everybody knows what's going on. Votes are counted. Fox had 69% of the viewership on the cable nets for the week. Think about that, Pat. Of all those cable nets, Fox had 69%, and they average 1.9 million viewers. By the way, folks, that is the highest in the 28-year history of Fox. Wow. This is the biggest week in their 28-year history.
Wow.
Would you like to know who had the lowest in their 25-year history?
Tell us.
MSNBC. Fox is the highest in 28 years. MSNBC is the lowest in 28 years. Fox was the only one over a million, and they were at 1.9 million average. ESPN was not at 1 million, but it was up in second place. Normally, ESPN's behind the news guys, right behind them. And then, yes, mighty Hallmark with Grandma Goes to Heaven and Puppies in Love, that kind of programming. They're in third place. Then MSNBC, 487,000. That was down 50% from earlier this year. Then CNN, 337,000, down 33%. By the way, CNN was 40% off Hallmark. It gets better. When you take the week of November 11, 17, the top 100 cable news telecasts, line them all up, the 100 of them, 100 cable news telecasts, and you got all the shows, right? What percent of them, Vinny, were Fox number one? I mean, of the top 100, what percent of those were Fox telecasts?
Jeez.
50%, 60%, 70%?
48%.
All 100.
Oh, man.
All 100 of the top 100 cable news telecasts for the week 11, 17 were Fox.
Damn.
MSNBC had several programs that had all-time lows, which leads us to the headline where Comcast, Brian Roberts. Now watch this, Vinny. Watch this, okay? Once upon a time, they sold cable bundles, right? For about $40 to start, usually about $85, $80 to get all the channels you want, including some ESPNs and sports, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now they're selling internet for that. They're selling the pipe for $70 to $100. Like if you put the internet in your house and you want to get the fast stuff, it's like $70 to $100. And the cable nets are not profitable. So they're gathering up MSNBC, CNBC, and all of those, and they're putting them in a basket, and they're saying, will somebody adopt this child? Better yet, we'll spin it off the stock market. But the stock market is saying, yeah, but if you spin it out, where's the growth? Where's the profit? Because it's a stock. People want to invest in it. What are you going to do with that? It's probably going to go private to private equity. They want to spin those out of Comcast because they're making the money, Pat, $70 to $90 they make on
but Tom,
the
is
internet
it even
service
worth
now.
buying MSNBC today? Like there was rumors that Elon may buy MSNBC. Is it even like, let's just say for us, we're a small media company.
No.
Is it worth for us buying a company like MSNBC? So we now have a cable audience as well. Would that be a beneficial strategy for a small media company like us, Valuetainment?
I think it would be for CNN because that's a great brand. You have to remember, so the answer to your question is yes, if it was something like a CNN brand. But MSNBC was a Frankenstein. MSNBC was created years and years and years ago. Do you remember when Yahoo, you just put in your zip code on the Yahoo page and it would give you movies, stories that were local, all that stuff?
Yes.
MSN had the same thing, right? Over at MSN?
Sure.
You had a Yahoo address or MSN. Microsoft sold that to NBC and they created MSNBC. Remember, MS in MSNBC stands for Microsoft. But then Microsoft got rid of its ownership in the channel and got rid of its ownership on the internet webpage. And so it's MSNBC, but they no longer say Microsoft because Microsoft's been out forever.
What if we buy
this
it?
was a Frankenstein and it's lived out its...
What if you buy it and you change it and it's called VT News? What if you buy it and it's a different name given to it?
Well, you would
have to get rid of the NBC and the MSN.
Or
you would have what's called slots on all the cable, like Cox, Comcast, and Hulu. You would have a slot there in the lineup, which is worth
What's
something.
that worth to us? If you have the right people.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's a real quant you could put on it because what you're describing, remember, Zaz, who's the guy at the top of Warner Brothers Discovery, he went to the Allen conference where they wear all the cool vests that say Allen and Company.
Yeah, the
and remember, he tried to give away CNN at the Allen conference, and there were no takers. And people were rumored that it could be as low as $1 billion. Remember that? Other people said, no, it'll go for $8 to $9 billion. And it's like, how? For what? And so this is what's going on. And then the cherry on top from the numbers, we'll go back to it, and then I'll let you comment here. The 5 beat Saturday Night Live.
Gotta love that. By the way, while we're going through this, Rob, play this clip, and then Adam, I'll come to you.
This is cataclysmic.
That is cataclysmic.
This is why you got the stories of them selling these channels.
No question about it. But watch, this is Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly ran the #1 show for 20-plus years. Stephen A. Smith, #1 in ESPN, 10, 15 years. Chris Cuomo was #1 at CNN for a few years. Love or hate these three guys, they've all been #1 in their companies. And they know what it is to be part of an organization that's competing in a marketplace. Watch what Bill O'Reilly said is about to happen to MSNBC and The View. Go ahead, Rob.
Comcast said, you two, we're going to have to try to mend some cliche fences, and you two are going to go in there and you're going to try to tamp it down. Because Comcast knew the next day they were going to announce that MSNBC is vapor. That is a huge meteor story.
Why is it vapor? Just because they're spinning it off and putting them in they're spinning off a bunch of brands.
There's no spin-off.
There is. It's a spin-off company.
There's no spin-off. See, you buy the propaganda, Cuomo.
Oh, okay.
See what I mean about
I'm just saying
people?
what's being reported.
All right.
But what do you know?
Yeah, I know, but why would you believe what's being reported? You want the real story? Here
Yes,
it comes.
please.
So they're uncoupling their word, Comcast, MSNBC from NBC News. That means MSNBC has no resources at all. None. They're not going to be able to pay these people millions of dollars, Rachel Maddow, whatever she's making. NBC News is saying, we don't want you around. Why? Because NBC News' numbers, Lester Holt and the Today Show, are catastrophe because half the country equates NBC News with MSNBC, and they won't watch.
Exactly.
So NBC is desperately trying to save the mothership of information, and they have to throw MSNBC overboard. They're not putting anything into MSNBC. They want to sell it. So where's Georgie Soros now? Georgie's buying radio stations. You can get MSNBC for nothing. They'll give it to you. They don't want any more of this. Why? Because it's hateful. Not because it's so far left. The whole NBC Comcast hierarchy is far left. But it's hateful. They hate Trump. They hate people who vote for Trump. Everybody knows that. And you know what's next? The View. ABC News is going to have to cut ties with The View.
Yes.
And you saw that today or yesterday when Sonny Hostin had to read a legal statement in the middle of a segment. The lawyers got in her, get Whoopi Goldberg's ear, and it said, we're bringing a statement in on a teleprompter. She reads it.
Wow.
So it is over for these far left networks. Done, never coming back. Dracula's stake in the heart. Who benefits? News Nation may, but CNN, which is on the ropes too, will probably get some MSNBC viewers.
Wow.
There you go.
Listen.
What do you think of that?
Well, I'm certainly not going to accuse him of not making sense.
I didn't see that part. That's hilarious.
That's awesome. I'm certainly not going to accuse him of not making sense.
That's a great shirt.
What a great line.
Shout out to Stephen A. Smith.
Oh,
By the way,
man.
how cool is it to see Stephen A. Smith and Chris Cuomo? The last time I saw them together, we were having dinner with the two of them.
Yeah.
PBD, myself, Tom, I think you were out of town at that point, Vinny. But certainly Bill O'Reilly's making a lot of sense. Just rapid fire here real quick. Starting with The View, where we started this segment. Sonny Hostin, she should probably change her name to Sonny Hostage, because basically she's looking like she's reading a hostage video, not having to deal with her TDS syndrome live in effect, because her lawyers or legal representatives were like, yeah, you're going to have to basically tell the truth right here. I swear that Matt Gaetz, this is what happened to him. She looked completely uncomfortable right there. So what we're about to see in all the liberal leftist media is the fallout of TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. So when you call Trump Nazi and fascist and Hitler for years and years and years and years, and then he wins, what recourse do you then have? So who's had meetings with Trump in the last week or two? Joe Biden, Mika Brzezinski, Joe Scarborough. So when you're basically saying this is Hitler, and then you go have a meeting with him, seems like Hitler's getting a lot of meetings. So which one is it? Even when Kamala took off remember her like sort of concession speech that happened the next day? After calling Trump Hitler and Nazis, do you know what she said? She gets on stage, she goes, guys, everything's going to be okay. I promise you, everything's going to be okay. You called him Hitler. So the reality is the average American out there is basically saying, yeah, we're not buying any of this BS. And now that Joe Scarborough is sort of having to sort of kiss the ring of Trump to remain relevant, last point with CNN, do you remember when Jeff Zucker got their highest ratings? He would do things like, Trump's about to take the podium. They would show the podium on air for an hour before he even took the podium, before Trump would even speak.
And give opinion. While we're waiting for the president.
While we're waiting for Trump to walk to the podium, people would be sitting there with bated breath being like, oh, he's about to come to the podium. MSNBC might be spun off and sold. CNF, how did they describe CNN? On their last left? On their last leg?
On the ropes.
Left, on the ropes?
Well, I thought about this, Pat. I mean, if we buy MSNBC, we don't have to change the lettering. It'll stand for massive success, noble capitalism. We don't have to change nothing. But and just
I just came up with that.
I wrote that down really
that.
quick. But if this is in regard to the Matt Gaetz thing, because I know we want to move on. Let's just all understand. A woman told Kyle Griffin at MSNBC, the ethics committee. She told earlier this year that he had sex with a minor woman. She testified the committee that she witnessed him having sex with a minor at a house party in Orlando in 2017. But I'm like, really? So this grown woman was watching Matt Gaetz have sex with a 17-year-old, and it took her 7 years, Tom, to come forward with this story. All of a sudden, it reminds me of
who told it? Who said this?
It was so a woman told Kyle Griffin, executive producer at MSNBC, at the ethics committee earlier this year that Matt Gaetz had sex. That was that. Oh yeah. And so and remember this, guys. It's believe all women unless those women vote Republican. Same thing with Bill Clinton and Juanita Broderick, Biden with Tara Reid, and what Brett Kavanaugh. Out of nowhere, the guy's about to be brought into the Supreme Court. Then all of a sudden, Christy Blasey Ford comes out of nowhere and is like, oh yeah, in high school in a party. And this guy, they didn't realize he was going to be a nerd, and he had a calendar and blogged everything he did every single day for every summer as a kid. It's just such hypocrisy. And by the Tom, they didn't go forward with the Matt Gaetz thing, right? They stopped. They didn't want to continue because there was no.
The investigation stopped.
It stopped.
The department and the DOJ closed it. Look, there's two things here. One is talking about Matt Gaetz, but we'll close the book on it. Even MSNBC.
I want to play this Holly clip until we close on it. Rob, play this Holly clip.
Okay. What's the word in the Senate about these confirmations?
Well, I think the word ought to be, Jesse, that every single one of these nominees needs to have a confirmation hearing as quickly as possible. My plan is to support all of them, and I would just say to my Senate colleagues, listen, let these guys testify. Give them a shot. I know some of these Senate GOP folks are saying, oh, I've got concerns. That's what a hearing is for. Don't go out and bash these people until you've at least allowed them to make their case. And listen, I mean, I think they've got momentum. I thought the meeting today with Gaetz went great, and it's full steam ahead.
So some of these guys, even not having a hearing, maybe not even met Matt Gaetz, they're just no's?
You know, I've read about my colleagues, some of them here in the Senate, who say we've got deep concerns. Of course, I'm reading all of the slander and garbage in the press about Gaetz and others, and this is really approaching Kavanaugh proportions. They're trying to do to him what they did to Kavanaugh. And the answer to that is let the guy speak. He deserves to be able to address this himself. He deserves to be able to lay out his vision and the president's vision for the DOJ. And I look forward to that. And listen, as I said to President Trump, I'm going to help in whatever way I can to get the president the cabinet that he wants and deserves.
There you go. I mean, he's like, hey, if you got something, go ahead. Let's hear what you have to say. Tom, go ahead and finish the thought. You were going to say something.
No, what I was going to say is that, you know, and Josh Hawley was correctly pointing out all the hate and slander that's in the press. And you even had Mike Barnicle of MSNBC saying, you know what? I don't know how we make ourselves relevant again. And he believes it's technology because 40% of adults under 30 say get their news from social media over traditional sources. And what they don't get is that the trust in the media is gone. And so I don't know how we make ourselves relevant again. I think he's right. And it's as you used to say, it's Control-Alt-Delete, man. IPL time.
But you know what's crazy about what's happening with Trump right now? It's actually crazy.
He's winning.
He's winning for sure.
All cylinders.
But what was his downfall is essentially the same reason for his revival and renaissance. What do I mean? Without COVID, Trump would have probably been reelected in 2020. Would you agree with that, guys?
Yep.
But because of COVID and the, I guess, mishandling of COVID, nobody knew what was going on.
Weird timing.
That's the reason that Trump was not reelected. But because of COVID, because it had to expose everything from everyone, nobody could hide anything anymore. Everything, every objective, every policy, every situation that you basically were sort of behind closed doors, you know, the Wizard of Oz thing, it's all been exposed. So now 4 years later after COVID, now this is the reality of Trump's survival. What does MLK once say? He says, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Short term, Trump got screwed.
Yeah.
But long term, this is basically cementing his legacy.
Yeah, but
we'll see what he does
in
next
regard
4
to
years.
this, though, the perfect sense that we're making, and you I think you sent it to us in the group chat. Now, I mean, X played a huge part in it. These people are finished. It took 8 years for the world to see it, and X X played the biggest role in this. I think the biggest thing, because Pat, we have that video, the CNN's shocking video. Remember the guy that did all the charts for all the Rob? You have that clip? Pat, did you see this one? I think you sent it to me. It's where the guy that normally did all the demographic charts and this guy right here stands next to him.
This is recent.
This is recent.
Every Sunday he did the recap. It kept getting worse.
Let's see it, Rob.
So one of the big reasons he bought Twitter/X is because he wanted to make it his own platform, remake it in his own image. And I think this really gets at it. Look at this. The party ID among those who regularly use X/Twitter for news. Back in 2022, 65% of those who regularly use Twitter/X for news were Democrats. Just 31% were Republicans. Look at where we are today. Just a completely different picture. Now it's basically split between Democrats at 48%, Republicans at 47%. And what I should note, Mr. Berman, is this new overall makeup matches the overall electorate far better. And more than that, more than that, John, look at where Mr. Musk's net worth is today versus where it was just 2 months ago. He is the richest man in the world by far. 2 months ago, look at this. His net worth was $252 billion. Today, look at where we are today.
Just 2 months ago, he didn't have anything.
By far the richest man ever to be on the planet.
You know what I say all the time?
He's not
$252 billion ain't what it used to be.
It's not.
I think Vinny brings a massive point here. If not for Elon Musk,
it's over.
Where would he be right now? The Twitter files wouldn't have ever happened. Everything wouldn't be exposed. If Elon Musk didn't basically put his whole career on the line, his reputation, and basically align with Trump, there's a good chance
I agree.
Trump would not be reelected.
It's that 42, $44 billion was the most
access to
important
information.
transaction
It's action to
of the last 2 years.
Exactly. It's access to information that now we all get to see. And I hope, not to break sad news because I know we want to move on, Eva Longorio's moving out of the United States. Ellen DeGeneres. Don't get sad. Wow. She's moving to England because they can't take it. And I just want to show everybody at home.
Oh, that'll go well.
Yeah, when you have that hate, Rob, and I know you know the photos I want to show. When you have that hate in your heart, it exudes and it ruins you. I want to show you a really quick photo of Rosie O'Donnell before Trump derangement syndrome. Look at what she used to look like. That's Rosie O'Donnell. Then Trump, the hate, the Hitler, the anger. What does she look like right now? That's what happens.
Are you joking?
That's what happens when you have hate.
That's not the same person.
That's her. I took a screenshot.
That's her grandma.
No, that's Rosie. That's Rosie O'Donnell, angry, bitter every day, and that's what it does to your soul. Wow. Have love in your heart, guys. Stop watching these evil networks because that's what's going to happen.
She never was attractive. I think that was the best possible picture you've ever found. Listen, Vinny, you've been accused of calling women pigs, slobs, dogs, fat cows.
Hold on. Only Rosie O'Donnell.
Only Rosie O'Donnell. I'm sorry.
Sorry, guys.
Rosie.
Sorry, do that picture one more time. Do it one more time. Honestly, next time you do that, you have to give some kind of... Don't you like when they say
NC-17,
like viewership?
Okay, guys, I'm so sorry.
Don't do that next time.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Excuse me, Vinny.
That's right.
Don't bring that sloppy dog
just
around
like
me.
Sonny has to apologize, you have good.
Okay, wait.
The following may be disturbing.
Let him do it. He knows how to do it.
Today, about 30 seconds ago, I didn't warn you guys about that photo. I apologize.
Our legal texted me. You got to do it right now.
My bad.
Do it right now. It's just not appropriate because we love our audience. Forgive us,
sick
folks.
puppy, Vinny.
Sorry. We will keep getting better. We will keep getting better. And
Rosie, we love you. You're a great, gorgeous person.
All right, let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. So Elon Musk, okay, the first lady from Brazil, pure classy, very classy first lady, comes out and says the following to Elon Musk. Go ahead, Rob.
A gente colocou aqui no CRIA. Alô? Uma buzina de navio. O Elon Musk.
Nazi.
Eu não tenho medo de você, inclusive. Boa! Fuck you, Elon Musk.
Fuck you, Elon Musk. What?
That's to Elon Musk.
This is Lula's wife?
That's the wife.
Of Lula.
Yes, and do you know what Elon says? Did you see Elon's tweet, Rob, afterwards?
No.
Or do you have it? Elon says these guys will not have influence and leadership for another 2 to 4 years. They're done.
Beautiful.
Meaning he's like, listen, you guys are going to be going to a whole different place. And meanwhile, Time Magazine, did he respond to you? LOL. Well, what did he say right there?
LOL, that's it.
By the way, Nicola we had him on the podcast. Stud. He's by the way, that guy could end up being a president of Brazil one day. Nicolas Ferreira right there.
You guys are in the office?
Oh, he is a freaking stud and a half. This guy right here, yeah. So while that is going on, Time Magazine comes out with Musk. And Rob, if you want to show the Time Magazine cover for Musk, look at this. Zoom in a little bit if you could. Okay, so look at this. Electrical vehicles, checked off. Become richest man, checked off. Buy Twitter, checked off. Launch rocket, checked off. Bring rocket back, checked off. Implant human brain chip, checked off. Get Trump elected, checked off. Work for Mar-a-Lago, checked off. Wow. Slash $2 trillion, fly to Mars. Wow. Citizen Musk. What's next on his to-do list?
That's badass. That's
is
fantastic.
on the cover of Time Magazine as we speak today.
That is fantastic.
Good for him, man.
I think that's a very fair, reflective cover.
You know what it's called? It's called Mark Benioff wants to sell it for more because he went from having 4 million subscribers to Time Magazine to only 1.6 million, and he bought it for 180, and he's trying to recoup some of the money that he invested.
So you're saying he's got to repaint the house and put in different carpet?
That's exactly what he needs to do. That's exactly what he needs to do because this guy
repainting the house
not going away. He's not going to be going away. He's going to be around for a while.
Where do you think his net worth will be by the time Trump leaves office?
He said it. I said $1 trillion.
Trillion? In how many years, Pat?
Oh, he'll be the first trillionaire in 4 years.
4 years?
I think so.
Maybe sooner.
You're saying he's going to 4x, 3x his wealth in the next 4 years?
Guys, he may be a trillionaire in a year and a half, 2 years. I'm just saying, like, latest.
Okay.
4 years by 2020, this guy's worth $1 trillion.
And do you think that's a very good thing? A good thing? Is that a not a great thing? $1 trillion. I mean, that's the size of GDP of Russia.
Well, let me tell you, if I'm him, I'm just telling you, if I'm him, I have a budget of $100 million every year just on security and protecting him.
100 million.
I have a similar to $50 to $100 million budget of a team with you 24/7, no matter where you are, because he is enemy of the state, of the establishment state. Number one is Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah.
There's nobody that has a bigger target on their back in the world than this guy. Nobody. That's even Trump. He's ahead of Trump officially right now. So, my opinion.
Can I ask you a question? Where does that wealth
You're
come
limited
from?
to one question.
That's it. That's all I get. What's my point? What's my point? Here's my point.
Go ahead.
Here's my point.
Go ahead.
If he's at 300 billion now, where's it at today? Rob, if you can fact check this real quick.
340 something.
I don't know if that's exactly where to say. However, he's got to make 750 billion in the next 4 years.
I think he can do it.
Okay, walk me through how that happens. Is that through Tesla? Is that through SpaceX? Is that through Starlink? Is
combination
that through
of all of them?
Adam, it's through everything. So let's say I'm a Major League Baseball player and I'm about to cross 500 home runs. I'm going to be in the Hall of Fame. But now my question is, where am I going to rank in the Hall of Fame? There are athletes that care about it. And there are industrialists that used to care about where they were on the Forbes 400. Honestly, I think he only cares about doing new things and driving these things. I honestly don't think he worries about how it measures up on the Forbes list. I don't think Elon Musk cares a bit about it. I think being a trillionaire is just going to happen. He thinks it's important to build SpaceX and bring the rocket back and not dump it into the ocean as junk. He thinks it's important to try to go to Mars and be an interplanetary species. He thinks it's important for the brain research and see if we could help people through Neuralink. He thinks it's important. He thought it was important for EVs, and then he made a very capitalist decision about building a whole bunch of service stations that everybody else would have to use for those EVs to plug them in. I think, and PBD, I'm interested, I think it just happens because he's driven and he's inventing and it just goes. I don't think like he's a guy who's reached 99 billion and wants to be 100 and is thinking of the scorecard.
He's a vision guy.
He's different.
He's a vision guy, hands down, and he has a long list of enemies. Enemies that both he's not going to let win and enemies that he just wants to troll because he can. As a part of it, that's a childlike guy. This guy's a perfect combination of childlike, visionary, brilliance, hard worker, and a wrong guy to compete against. But he's very formidable, and I'm excited to see what he does next. By the way, let's go to the next story here. So next story, California. So California is going through a minimum wage hike. They want to raise the minimum wage, which, by the way, when you think about, I'm going through this, and I'm reading this article, and I'm being reminded what the minimum wage is in California for different kind of jobs, and I'm absolutely blown away. Let me just read it to you to just kind of give you an idea what this says. So California turns on minimum wage increase, rejected Proposition 32, which sought to raise the statewide minimum wage to $18 an hour, making the first state to turn down a minimum wage increase at the ballot in nearly 30 years. Okay, and this is California. Joe Condi, CEO of California Restaurant Association, called the result historic, arguing it reflected voters' frustration with policies that makes life more expensive for everyone. By the way, it doesn't show it here. Rob, can you pull up the minimum wage numbers for fast food? You know what minimum wage is right now if you work at McDonald's, you're a 17-year-old kid? California? $20 an hour.
$20. Wow. Oh, that's right. I think that the
minimum wage is $20 an hour. You know what it is? If you're working in a hospital, I think it's some kind of a hospital, I think it was $25 an hour. They're sitting there realizing, bro, you just raised minimum wage to $20. Big Mac is expected. I can't afford it anymore. They're doing this while another story comes out, Rob, if you want to play the clip on this, because I know you got it. It's a BBC clip. Los Angeles City and schools make themselves migrant sanctuaries. Play this clip.
Without objection, it is passed.
Who's
to all of the future federal leaders that are going to take over very soon, I tell them this, that with this action today, what the LA City Council is trying to say is that we're not going to allow for the actions that once upon a time took place in 1954, where with Operation, I don't choose to use a second word, or what happened in the 1970s when they did massive deportations and broke families. Los Angeles is not going to let that happen.
Given the re-election of Donald Trump and the consistent hate speech towards undocumented people and mixed status families, I can't think of a more pressing.
He's reading it. By the way, if you guys are so right in what you're talking about, you can pause it, Rob. Why are people leaving your state? Why are people leaving your wonderful city? People don't agree with you, guys. Even with your wonderful cat glasses that you have on to make you seem like you went to some Ivy League school, whatever those glasses she's wearing, good for you. Look at those glasses. Yeah. She's like a cat lady type of glasses.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
She looks like she's a lot of fun.
I mean, you go to lens crafters, and you say, can I get, because I have the CEO of Lens Crafters here, but I'm talking like you go to Lens Crafters and you ask them, do you have the cat lady glasses? That's this one. You just say, can I get the cat lady glasses? Yep. While this is going on, you know what Trump says he's going to be doing? Let me tell you what Trump's going to be doing. Trump's confirming that he's going to use military to assist in mass deportation.
Good.
And Rob, play a couple of these clips for people to see and finish it with Tom Homan if you can. And for the folks that are open to the idea of being, you know, maybe converted or baptized into some common sense, listen to these folks and say, you have logic. If you can reason, you tell me if any of this stuff makes sense. Go ahead, Rob. Here's Pritzker, billionaire or Illinois governor. Go ahead.
Are deeply concerned about, the president of the United States calling out military inside the United States, where people are peaceful, even if there may be people who are undocumented. But
very
the idea of calling out,
Venezuelan
the army
gang members taking over apartment
into
complex.
the domestic confines of the United States seems uncalled for and may in fact be unconstitutional.
Voters have spoken and they
we'll
disagree
look into that.
with you.
I honestly, he says a lot of things. You never know what he's telling the truth about. So we'll have to see.
Is that a Wendy's flag next to the American flag?
What's the next one you got, Rob? Give me a good one. Who is this?
This is Boston Mayor Michelle Wu.
Okay, go for it.
What will Boston's response be if these mass deportations take place?
Yeah, look, elections have consequences, and the federal government is responsible for a certain set of actions, and no individual city can reverse or override some parts of that. But what we can do is make sure that we are doing our part to protect our residents in every possible way, that we are not cooperating with those efforts that actually threaten the safety of everyone by causing widespread fear and having large-scale economic impact.
So look into that phrase. Threatening the safety of who? U.S. citizen or illegal immigrants? Who is it threatening the safety of? Go ahead, Rob.
Actually, neither.
Right. Go ahead.
Defending our residents every possible way. Well, she's not very smart, I'll give her that. Because what I just said is President Trump's going to prioritize public safety threats. What mayor or governor doesn't want public safety threats out of their communities? I mean, that's her number one responsibility, is to protect her communities. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So she helps us, she gets the hell out of the way, because we're going to do it. And look, there's a clear line here, and they can't cross a clear line. I would suggest she read Title 8, United States Code 1324 III, that says, you can't harbor or conceal an illegal alien from front of law enforcement officers. So I hope she don't cross that line. They can not cooperate. But there are certain laws in place that they can't cross, and I hope she doesn't cross it. But
there you go, Tom. Thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, it's funny. They're all trying to throw the peanut butter to see what's going to stick, and it's not going to stick. The American people voted, and immigration was the number one or number two issue for voters by intensity. The economy was pretty much number one across the board. Immigration was number two, and then it dropped down. We're talking about intensity of the voter. How intense did they feel about it? And the voters have spoken. And now these bureaucrats going to the microphone and making their statements and saying, well, we're not going to cooperate, we're not going to do this. Your voters, your citizens said, I want it to be safe. And there are people that came here that are doing things that Laken Riley was killed by one of them. So how you say we're not going to cooperate, who are you protecting? You're protecting a bunch of people that have arrived here without permission versus protecting the citizens that are there paying the property tax on the house they're trying to protect? Come on. I mean, J.B. Pritzker, he so completely misses the point. And it's also equally clear that he doesn't miss many meals. You have an idea about the future that is somewhere, off on Mars. They don't get it. They're going back to the same things they were doing during the election, PBD. They're singing the same song that they did, and they lost the election. The American people voted. You are welcome to come here. The Statue of Liberty. Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. We all come from somewhere, but we come from somewhere legally. We assimilate through legal immigration, and we become part of the great America. But when you come here in mass and you're not documented, and you happen to not be good people from other places, we will take action to protect the citizens and the taxpayers and the voters that just determined in this election what they wanted.
Isn't Michelle Wu the Boston mayor that sent out that memo for the holidays, and she only wanted a party for she was being accused of being racist?
No white people
she's like,
allowed.
no white people to come, so she can kiss my you know what. That's number one.
She's a racist. That was a rape by definition.
Yeah, she's
Mayor
racist.
Wu committed an act of racism on the Boston budget by sending out a city-sanctioned invitation. She did it. She was using Boston taxpayer money to create a party that was racist.
Yep.
And you say, well, if it's against white people, it's not racist. Look, it's been said by people of all colors. Reverse racism is racism. Any racism is racism. And she is a racist.
Yeah, Tom, bingo. But anybody that's illegal coming in, come on in. And just really quick, I know you mentioned the Laken Riley pan. I know that's a story that we'll get to. But let's just, a couple things that happened. Today, the FBI and DOJ refused to testify in front of Congress on threats of Homeland Security because of these open border policies, number one. And also, and I'm not praising this, I'm not trying to be cool about it. Rob could look it up. All these illegals going to all these sanctuary cities. Today, Pat, a Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg's assistant, was robbed, attacked by an illegal immigrant with 5 arrests since 2023. He's a Venezuelan Tren de Agua member. And taxpayers, our taxpayers, your taxpayers, paid for his hotel. So that's now it's starting to hit home, and they can't deny it.
Where he rested up so he could commit the crime.
So he could commit the crime. And he was looking at the camera, and he was like yelling and talking all that crap. And that's what's up. And I'll talk about the Laken Riley thing
Rob,
after.
play that clip, the last clip with, this guy to me is a star. He's a superstar. Ability to reason, very, very calm, but a fighter. Play this clip on CNN. Go ahead.
Promise you with every fiber of my being, because I'll probably be one of those people, that if anybody comes for these people and tries to drag them out by force, there will be protests of people like me, American citizens, who are going to stand there and do everything possible to prevent these women and children, which is all who these people are.
Yeah.
How about the criminals?
How about the terrorists? How about the convicted?
How do you stop? How do you know who it is?
That's the problem.
Stop. I'm sorry. I live next to these people. I can tell you they are women and they are children. Are there terrorists among them? I don't know. But I can tell you that there are.
Neither does the government.
But I can tell you. But let me tell. Okay. But what I'm telling you right now, practically speaking, is that there will be people, American citizens, who will prevent these little kids from being dragged out of these shelters. There are. And what's going to happen to these people? What is going to happen to the military when the military opens fire on us?
Shut up.
We're way down a rabbit hole here.
Like, opens fire. Do you see that here? And they don't learn their lesson. Who's opening fire? These people. You guys understand the word illegal? The first thing that you've done when you've touched down on American soil, you've already broken the law. They have to get the hell out. And if we have to use military soldiers, because the reserves, what are they doing? The National Guard. They're not actively in war. We have to deploy them. We have to shut down the border and get everybody out because that 15, 20 million, they're going to stay. They're going to have kids. They're getting flown into all these swing states and battleground states. It's actively, we know what they're doing. Do you think they care about these people?
Let's boil it down even more. When you don't have a point or your point is without foundation, you have to go to fake fear. And where did she go? She didn't have a point. The other people are starting to chime in, not just Scott, the other guy too. There's the buzz cut that was on the right. Start to do that. Where does she go? Fake fear. Well, when they start opening fire on the American people, this is not Kent State. My gosh. You create fake fear. That's what it is. That's the take, by the way, and then you name call. There's the technique. So when you hear that, turn it off because now you know that they've lost the argument.
Yeah, and that's why they're up against the ropes with their network.
So you know how they're always talking about the coastal elites, and basically flyover country. You know, so I'm sure, Rob, I don't know if you can find a map of basically the final electoral college votes. I mean, we understand what happened here. I mean, the far left, literally on the map, goes blue. And then the far right on this example right here also goes blue here. Isn't it ironic that the three people that we showed speaking, number one was the people in LA.
Yep.
Number two was New York, right?
Yep, Boston.
Oh, no, Boston. My apologies, Boston. Number three was Illinois, basically the one liberal Midwest city right there, unless you want to count Minnesota, which is basically even at this point. But you know what it reminds me of is, you ever see these stories where there's a burglar and there's a breaking and entry, and the person whose home it is shoots the burglar, but then somehow, some way, they get sued or they go to jail for shooting the burglar that went in their house. And it's like, well, he's not a burglar. Technically, he was a unauthorized recipient of unlocked door policies. It's like the guy was breaking and entering, trying to rob, steal, and possibly do worse to my family. But even Mayor Eric Adams, I don't know what happened there, right? I know he likes turkey. Shout out to Thanksgiving. But isn't it ironic that once he started telling illegal migrants, listen, don't come to New York City. It's the most expensive city in the country. Like, we can't afford you. All of a sudden, these legal ramifications started popping up right here.
Weird.
But
he broke ranks and they went after him.
So what I would tell the illegal migrants that are here is go to LA. Enjoy LA. Stay in LA. Be there. Enjoy California. Stay in California. The reality is, remember this exchange that Tom Homan had with AOC? This was very, very powerful. And she was lost for words. She goes, so you're just recommending the separation of families, children separated from their parents. He goes, yeah, well, what do you think happens when a actual citizen of the United States gets arrested? The parent goes to jail and they're separated from their kid. It's no difference. And she's like, well, next question.
Yeah.
There's no answer to that. The reality is when you break the law, you're going to be separated from your children.
And by the way, I don't think these guys going to stop. I think Trump's going to use military, and I think that's going to be mayhem. I think they're going to go try to protest. But I think this time around, more people are with Trump than they were in 2016. So there's going to be fewer games played. I'm convinced it's going to be fewer games played because they're looking like morons. Like, MSNBC can't get up there and say, hey, look what they're doing. They're separating. They're like, dude, I want the place to be safe. Be quiet. Get out of business. And by the way, check this out. You know what I'm convinced of? I'm convinced even if Soros bought MSNBC, nothing would happen. Because I think the American people are like done. I think American people are like, look, man, we saw what you just did. Most of them who are not going to forget with all the games that was played. But let me go to the next thing here.
I think
a quick, fun, entertaining moment for you. Jenkins on there talking to a famous Laken who has gotten most of the elections right. And this is purely for entertainment purposes. Look how brilliant Pierce is. He has Cenk there, Laken.
Who's that girl in the middle?
And Juan Williams.
What's her name?
Harry. And you
her
got
name
Juan
is
Williams.
Harry?
By the way, in the younger TikTok community, he's actually very influential to the Democrats on the left, just so you know that. But watch this clip here. Watch this clip here. Watch this clip here. I think he's a guy. Is he, Rob, is he a guy or is he?
That's not a guy.
What? No, I think his name is Harry.
In the middle?
That's a guy.
That's Harry
The
Sisson.
guy on the two right?
Not the black guy on the right. That's Juan Williams.
This guy right here, that's Harry Sisson.
That's a girl.
And he'll be joining us on the podcast in December.
You can't say that to his face. Go ahead, Rob. Play the clip.
Sorry, I've never seen him.
Go ahead, play the clip.
Don't blame the voters. I think, look, we could get into this discussion, but one, I think you're blaming the voters. I think that's a terrible idea. Look, I debated Professor Lichtman before. I told him his theories about the keys were absurd. I was right. He was wrong. I said he'd lose his keys.
No, you were
Couldn't
not
find
right,
them
and
before
I
the
was
election.
not wrong, and that's a cheap shot, and I won't stand for it.
Well, who won, brother?
You should not be
Who
taking
won?
cheap
Who
shots
won?
at me.
Who
You
won?
want to make your
You
point,
live
make your
in a
point.
total
Don't make it
world of
personal.
denial.
I read your own followers' comments, and they all trashed you, every one of them, and supported me. So
Yeah,
quiet with
right.
your personal attacks.
Yeah, come find out again.
Make whatever point you want.
Yeah.
Don't
Look,
make it personal.
You don't know anything. You don't know
You
anything.
attacked me
You're
personally.
so deluded.
Oh, right. I've only been a professor for 51 years.
On this program,
published
I've never been
13
able
books.
to finish a
How
thought.
many books have you published? No, because you're personally attacking me again. Say whatever you want, but I'm not going to stand for
brother,
personal
you got it
attacks.
wrong.
Say
you were
whatever you want.
preposterously and stupidly wrong. So,
Look,
okay, all right. Can I just
don't
finish a
call me
goddamn thought
stupid.
ever on this show?
No, not if you're
Okay.
personally.
Well,
I
you
admitted
prove it.
I was wrong. I don't
Democrats.
need you to call me stupid.
Okay.
Can I just say,
What
it's
kind
great
of
to see
nonsense
you
is that?
Democrats
Yeah, I
all
know.
getting
Who
along
taught
so
you
well.
that line?
It's lovely to see a
Can I
post-election
finish a
harmony as you all
goddamn
come
point?
together
We're
again.
just one right now. Hey, Alan, you deserve a tall glass of shut-up juice. So can you just shut up for a second and let someone who knows what they're doing
Shut the hell up.
Make any point you want.
So
I will not sit here and stand for personal attacks, for blasphemy against me.
Now listen, there's nothing to ask you guys. What do you think? I just wanted to have some fun with that because every once in a while, Pierce gets a lot of these good, the things that he does. I just love. I think Pierce has been great the last couple of years, and I think that guy is going to get to 10 million subs in no time, and someone's going to have to sign him. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. Love him or hate him, he knows how to put fights together.
Yes, he does.
And he has you on. You were on last week, and you guys had a good
week.
session as
Yeah.
well. So all right, so let's go to the next one here and then, wrap up, guys. I'm not trying to sell you any cars, but this commercial may make you return your car if you own one of these. Here's Jaguar, okay? This is Jaguar's attempt of trying to do the Apple's commercial in 1984, which I'll show it to you, except it's got a little twist to it. Go ahead and play this clip, Rob.
Oh, my God.
What's that?
Time out. Is this a parody?
No. That's the By the way,
I didn't see the car.
Go to their Twitter account.
No.
They post this. You know what Elon asks? What do you sell? Elon asks, what do you sell?
Oh.
They said, we sell cars. Would you like to come and check one of them out? Can you see if the comments there? What did it say? Do you sell cars? They said, yes. We'd love to show you. Join us for a cuppa in Miami on December 2nd.
We should go.
Warmest regards.
Oh.
Look at this. Like,
for a
what
cuppa? What does that mean for a cuppa?
By the way, now, Rob, can you play the 1984 Apple commercial? And then look, when they say copy nothing, you copied Apple. Go to 1984 Apple commercial if you have it. It should pop up right off the bat.
Apple Jacks.
Type in commercial. If you right there. If you go to, I think it's down one. Yeah, watch this. This is Apple's commercial.
No, that's a Fortnite parody.
Okay, so Rob, go back and just type in commercial if you can.
To YouTube.
Just type in commercial, and it'll come up. And it should be, well, then you have to go to YouTube. Go to YouTube to find it because I'll try to find it on YouTube and send it to you. If you go to YouTube, type it up, it'll come up instantly.
What a weird commercial.
But watch when you see Apple's, you'll see this similarity. See if that's the one right there, third one. Watch this, folks. Go ahead, watch this.
The first glorious anniversary of the information purification directives we have created.
See what look they're going for?
All history, a garden of pure ideology, where each worker may bloom, secure from the pests of being contradictory thoughts.
So this is Apple's commercial. They're taking shots at IBM.
We are one people.
Meaning IBM has a bunch of robots.
One resolve, one cause. Our enemies shall talk themselves to death.
And that's the book, right? The book 1984. Watch the line. Prevail. Watch. In 1984.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
Okay. Now I'm interested in that.
Right. So the point is, Jaguar tried to duplicate that, except the LGBTQ version of it.
1,000%.
Assuming, like, think about the profile. Rob, can you go up there? I'm actually curious because they're not dummies. Go to Google and type in, what is the profile of a Jaguar driver?
Yeah.
Okay?
Old,
like,
rich, and
who
white.
is, when you think about a Jaguar driver, what do you, is often described as a successful, sophisticated individual with a taste of luxury, value, performance, and style, typically well-educated and likely to be professional position with a higher income, seeking a car that reflects their status and appreciation for refined driving dynamics, essentially someone who appreciates both the power and elegance of the Jaguar brand. Do you think that commercial did a good job speaking to these guys?
It's not even close.
That's the question.
Not even close.
I mean, if I'm that guy, I'm like, wait, do you realize right now? Watch, let me tell you what happens. If right now, say we work together, we're a broker at Goldman.
Yeah.
We're working at JP Morgan Chase. We're working at any place that we're in sales, executives, whatever we're doing. I pull up, 7:30, I see you pull up. I pull up in a Tesla, whatever. You pull up in a Jaguar. After I saw the commercial yesterday, I'm be like, Adam, when are you returning that car, bro? You sure you want to drive a Jaguar? And the look on your face is like, yeah, bro. I mean, listen, what was that? That's not me. My uncle always bought a Jaguar.
Oh, yeah.
You know who he was? He was a badass businessman. He is sitting there in his grave saying, what the hell happened to the old Jaguar brand? Isn't Jaguar, what do you think about when you think about Jaguar? Actors, what movies was Jaguar in? By the way, I think one of the most expensive cars, like old cars to buy, is a Jaguar. Mm-hmm. Tom, what do you think about this?
Jaguar is come and gone for me. They're currently part of Land Rover. They had a chapter, they were actually owned by Ford. They had a chapter they were owned by, I think it was Tata. And once upon a time, there was this essence of Jaguar, like you would see Sean Connery and XJ and the ancient and everything about it. It was a beautiful car. It was art. It was never known as being terribly reliable. It never really became a supercar. It never got to that level. And then it got passed around. The brand got, again, bought by Ford, bought by Tata. And now it's like, I don't know what it stands for. And with this commercial, I don't understand the positioning. I know they're part of Land Rover, but that's all I know. And I don't understand this positioning. I don't understand where they fit between Mercedes and BMW and McLaren in terms of, higher end cars. I don't understand. I don't know where they fit. And it's confusing to me. So that's what I would say. It's confusing. So what you have is a lot of money, corporate marketers that went out and got an ad agency, and they all sat in a room together and they talked themselves into believing that this is where they're taking the brand. And you know what? I don't know. There used to be a joke. There used to be this joke about Jaguar. You know why Jaguar never made a personal computer? After 5 years of research, they couldn't figure out a way to make it leak oil, because Jaguars were known for leaking oil and being terribly semi-reliable, but really...
Even with that, check this out, Tom. Rob, pull up the link I just sent you. What is the most expensive Jaguar ever sold? You ready? Watch this here. Watch this here. Zoom in, Rob, if you could, and close that. Watch this. Okay? Zoom in out the top. This is the most expensive Jaguar ever sold at an auction. Look how sick that looks. What do you think it's sold for? Don't go down. What do you think it's sold for?
$3 million. Okay,
go lower. Go lower. No, stay right up top. Okay.
Wow.
One of only four asked. No, go up top. Is that what it says? Mercedes.
What?
Go a little lower to see where it says the Jaguar. Aston Martin. Jaguar models have cracked just over 20, and a couple of Jaguar models have cracked 10 million barrier. 1957 XKSS went for over 13.2 million last year. Watch this, Vinny. Look at that. And the most expensive Jaguar ever, 1955 D-Type, sold for $22 million.
Wow.
In 2016, 8 years ago. Wow. It's probably a $30 to $40 million car today in auction. Wow. Think about that, right? And they produce a commercial like that? Seriously? It's embarrassing.
I don't know what they're all about. I don't know.
Well, and so because I tried looking it up, like who's in charge of their. So I guess Spark 44 is an agency management serving as an in-house creative agency for Land Rover 2021 and Jaguar. But I think Accenture, ACCNTURE, I think that's the company that would be like, who sits in a meeting and goes, you know what? And like, because you know what that means? The head, the CEO of Jaguar, correct?
No, there's a corporate joke around corporate marketing, and it goes like this. When it comes to corporate marketing, nobody is as dumb as all of us. Meaning that when you get us all collective in a room and you get us all thinking about it and you get us all doing this, we can talk, as they say, to err is human, but to really F up, you need a committee. Right? And that's what you see here. I think this is a gross failure of marketing leadership for a brand that's trying to find its future. That's my close.
PBD, this is going to be shocking. But one of the last cars I've ever had and owned was a Jaguar.
Really?
This was...
Well, no, that makes sense.
No,
after seeing that commercial...
No, this was before I transitioned to a man. We all know that. Yeah. We all know what happened right there. But... it was one of Rob. I sent you a picture of what it looked like. It was one of those old school, like white, and it had a beige convertible top down. It was kind of like this.
You owned one of those?
So it was Adrian's car, and then we swapped cars when he moved to become a correspondent in Lebanon.
And by the way, you put the top down on that?
Oh,
that
dude.
was a cool car.
That was a gangster-ass car.
I remember those cars.
It was gangster. And, Pat, you're always talking about reinventing yourself.
You certainly did.
There's no way you bought a car.
No, well, I didn't say buy the car. I said had the car. Relax. This was in 2004. This was 20 years ago. But you're talking about reinventing yourself. Jaguar's trying to reinvent themselves. They're calling it basically Bud Light 2.0.
Yeah.
What happened to the CMO of Bud Light? What after that whole debacle?
What happened to the VP of marketing?
A VP of marketing. What it was?
They got the rainbow flag behind them.
So they went woke. Now they're going to go broke. And it's funny. It's almost like they didn't see anything that happened to Bud Light. It's almost like, oh yeah, you think Bud Light did a good job? Yeah. Hold my beer, Jaguar. Yeah. Bingo.
But here's the thing. And I still don't know, what does the car look like? It's the 2024. I'm 2025. Can we see the car? At least put it on a T-shirt. Like, I want to know is what consumer right now is like,
maybe
weird gay guy.
Maybe their position is they're just going to come out with the woke mobile.
I don't care what position you like.
Tom,
all
you
I
in
care
this
about
bent over position.
When it comes down to business, my only interest is, why would you make a ad like this? I don't need to know your position. Why would you make an ad like this for a car?
Whatever it might be, on your back, bent over.
I'm not. That's none of my business. They said, don't ask, don't tell.
Don't ask.
I'm looking at some of these cars. You just... Some of the directions we go to completely throws me off with these stories. But
I'm going to find you this picture, Pat.
Yeah. So, but the question I was going to ask was this: Tom, you're pretty good with this game. Vinny, you're pretty good with this game. All right, be honest, folks. If you're watching this, what can you see Adam driving? You know how you look at certain people and you say you'd look good in an XYZ car. What would Adam look good in? Mm-hmm. I'm thinking maybe a Mini Cooper, like from Italian Job.
Yeah.
What would Adam look good in?
1980 Volkswagen Rabbit convertible.
That's pretty high end.
Remember those?
Yeah, of course I do. What do you think Adam would look good in?
Like a lime green Bug Beetle. You know the newer ones.
Rob thinks Subaru. Rob went straight to Subaru.
No, he's not a Subaru.
Gay friendly cars is Subaru number 1.
Rob went there. But I'm actually being serious because I can tell you what I can see him in. What do you see him in? What can you see Adam? He pulls up.
What you got for
me? What
does
Adam
I'm in the
pull
market
up
for a car.
Because I'm thinking Miami water kind of. I think like a nice Range Rover for like a new one, like a sport.
No, that's
something
not
nice, something
Miami.
chill.
Okay.
No, not Miami. Meaning when it rains, it's going to be easily flooded.
What do you see Adam in car wise?
I see him in the BMW i3 electric.
Ooh,
because it's very, very cosmopolitan, very Miami.
What are you thinking?
To be honest with you, this is going to sound weird, but I actually see Adam in like an older, convertible, classy car,
James Bond type car.
I just see him in a older car that pulls up. It's kind of weird, Tom. That recommendation.
It's weird.
I know that's kind of Miami.
No, but I see Adam driving I see Adam driving one of those older, Chevrolet convertible, but an older model.
Nice. Yes.
Not a new one.
Really?
I see something like that. Corvette convertible. Anyways.
Like a classic vintage top down
67
nice
Impala convertible.
like
67
that.
Big back seat,
Anyways,
you know what I'm talking about?
Last story with the few minutes that we have here left. Okay. Vinny,
Yeah.
Laken Riley's killer sentenced to life in prison after heart-wrenching plea from her family. Rob, if you can please play this clip.
Dude.
With what this looks like. I mean, you watch this. This is painful. Go ahead, Rob.
I'm so proud of Laken and the beautiful person she was. Well, I can stand here and try to tell the world the things that made her such a wonderful person, as well as the many things we have all been robbed and deprived of. I think one of her last journal entries dated 12/17/23 says it best. So here we go. To my future husband. As silly as I feel writing this, my old small group leader once recommended it, so here I am. To my future husband, I want you to know that I'm thinking about you. I'm working every day to become the best wife I can be. By working through my current relationships
the
that
killer is
prepare me
sitting
for
right
hours.
there.
With the checkered
kids
blue.
one day.
To the left.
The checkered shirt there?
Yep.
I'm focusing on God and what He defines as a faithful Christian life, and so that I can best embody those characteristics. I pray that you know that it is with my full faith and trust in God that I know this relationship has been handcrafted by Him. I pray that we continue to glorify the Lord, prioritize Him in every aspect of our lives, and raise our family, our future family, to be God-fearing Christians as well. I pray God is the center of our relationship as it is a gift from Him. I thank Him for you before I even know you, and can't wait to love you in the best way I know how for the rest of our lives. I pray you know and feel the importance of my love and hopes for our relationship. No matter what challenges we face, I pray that our trust in God and love for one another overrules the obstacle. May our relationship last forever. Your future wife, Laken. That, Your Honor, was our beautiful Laken. That, Your Honor, is just a glimpse of what was tragically and brutally taken from her and us that day.
Oh, man. That's, first of all, damn. Can you go to Tom first? I don't even think I could talk right now. Tom, can you just give her a shout out, Tom, for fighting for 17 minutes from this guy? Man.
She fought like any of us would fight, and the horror of what she went through has been made clear to us because of the technology, what we have on the phone, and it just underlines the horrors that we're capable of. And this guy came here, was without, inspection, and this is what you get. If you don't check at the door, this is what you can get, and this is what you lose. You lose what is terribly precious in the face of political expediency, because you want anyone to walk in unchecked for political expediency. But this is what you get. This is a consequence that is there. And this consequence lies at the feet of those who defend unchecked, unbridled immigration. We are all here from somewhere else, but we were checked at the door. And those that weren't checked and didn't, that the filter of justice didn't properly, protect our communities, our people from this is what we get. And that's the pain we inflict on people there. Right there, we are all Laken's parents. We are all feeling that. We are all listening to that. And I believe that the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ is on that guy, because I don't know if I would have been able to read that way with that grace and dignity that he was only 9 feet away from my daughter's killer. Yep. And I admire him. My prayers go to him for his healing. But this is what you get. in the name of political expediency, this is the consequence. This is when the human consequence becomes real, when it's no longer words on news shows debating. This is when the consequence becomes human and permanent. And it sits at the feet of those that want unchecked immigration versus orderly immigration, where people can experience the blessing and the joy that is in the United States of America. But you don't check it at the door and you just let the filter come in. This is the consequence, and this is what we want to protect our citizens from. And I'm disgusted by what led up to this, but I admire that Father is able to stand there with that grace, but I am absolutely horrified by what's happened. And you see the killer there sitting there. I'm sure he's probably shackled, but he's sitting there with nary a tear and just sitting there staring at the Father. His heart is so dark.
There's actually a clip that you'll, Rob, if you want to play the other clip.
He's so dark.
I'll just send it to you.
Yeah, and
this is a clip that's being shown, and then I want to go to Tom Homan, because the most incredible thing here is when we're talking about, we're fighting for women. We're fighting to protect women.
Yeah.
We're fighting to protect women. Here's Riley Gaines' tweet from a few days ago. And she talks about Laken fought for her life for 18 minutes. Don't you dare tell me I didn't vote to protect women. Play this clip, Rob, and watch his reaction.
February 22nd, Jose Ibarra put on a black hat, a hoodie-style jacket, and some black kitchen-style disposable gloves. And he went hunting for females on the University of Georgia's campus. And in his hunt, he encountered 22-year-old Laken Riley on her morning jog. And when Laken Riley refused to be his rape victim, he bashed her skull in with a rock repeatedly. That is what this case is all about. The evidence will show that Laken fought. She fought for her life. She fought for her dignity. And in that fight, she caused this defendant to leave forensic evidence behind. She also marked her killer for the entire world to see. The forensic evidence that he left behind in this fight is his DNA, and only his DNA and Laken's, underneath Laken's right fingernails. He also left behind in a struggle with her over her phone, because the court will hear that she called 911. He left behind his left thumbprint on her iPhone, which was found not far from her body at the crime scene. And it is that forensic evidence alone that would give you enough evidence to find him guilty as charged on the counts in this indictment. But the evidence in this case will come in basically three forms. There'll be forensic evidence, there will be digital evidence, and there will be video evidence. And all three forms of those evidence will point to one person, Jose Ibarra, as the killer of Laken Riley.
Go ahead, Benny.
Cold as ice.
By the way, when you tell me, when that lady earlier on CNN is like, I live in those neighborhoods, it's mothers and their children. If you decide to mass deport, people like me will be out there protesting. Are you going to protest against this? This guy's a guy here from Venezuela. He's a gangster from a Venezuelan gang. That, when we talk about Mara Salvatrucha, MS-13, they're like, that's nothing compared to what some of these guys from this Venezuelan gang does. Okay? What are you going to do with that? Are you going to protest on behalf of her? Are you going to go out there and say anything about it? You were claiming, the lady earlier that says if you go out there, you know who I'm talking about, Rob. You played a clip. And by the way, this is what Tom Homan had to say about this, Rob. And I think in this clip, he does talk about the Laken Riley case. Go ahead and play this clip. Go for it.
Laura, a lot of people ask me why I get so emotional when I do Fox News and why I scream at members of Congress. Because I've seen so much tragedy. I've talked to hundreds of angels and moms and dads who buried their children because they're killed by illegal alien. This is the latest. I've talked to little girls as young as 9 years old that were raped multiple times by members of cartel. When you look in her eyes and everything innocent and pure has been ripped from her soul, and her life will never be the same. I mean, it's just, I'm tired of it. And the government failed the Laken Riley family. Not only, if President Trump was president, he'd be sitting in Mexico in the Remain in Mexico program. And if he did get to New York and he was arrested for injury to a child in New York, I used to be able to arrest him because the priorities under Trump were if you're in the country illegally, you're a target. But because Secretary Mayorkas put the priorities so low, even the injury to the child didn't meet the standards, so ICE could even place a detainer on him. So this is purely, it could have been prevented. This young lady's dead. And I want every mayor, every governor of a sanctuary jurisdiction to listen to that tape, listen to this young girl fight for her life, fight for her breath, trying to survive, terrified. I want you to understand what she went through. Like the 9-year-old boy, that 5-year-old boy in the back of the tractor trailer that I held, I found him dead, that baked to death. I thought about what the last hour of his life was like. You need to listen to this tape. And for those governors and mayors that are saying they're going to stop Tom Homan, they're going to stop President Trump, shame on you. Your responsibility is protect your communities, and that's what we want to do, is protect your community.
That's why many millions are happy he got that job.
Probably besides,
love it.
Matt Gaetz and them, I think he is absolutely the best one. Because now think about it. Now for this evil rapist, murderer, gang member piece of, I don't even want to say his name. He's going to stay alive for the rest of his life, and our tax dollars are going to pay to keep this guy alive. And just to bring it all the way back to the beginning, why is he here? Why is that guy in this country? He came into Texas because he knew it was wide open, went to Texas, got a ride to New York, Pat, and then in New York, got a free humanitarian flight to Georgia. Why? Swing state, battle state, all that shit. This is the left's way of importing votes, and their votes mean more than your lives and your kids' lives and our lives. And I'm sick and tired. AOC, Biden, Kamala, every hearing I've heard where they're like, these kids, it's not about the kids. It's about illegal people coming here, and one death, guys, Tom, one death. Laken Riley's death is enough for me, okay? So if we need to use the military, so be it. Because one of our lives, to me, is worth more than 1,000 of these pieces of shit that come here and they kill our people. That's it. So bring the military, and I don't want to let them cry. Let them be like, oh, grabbing kids. I don't care at this point. Because here, you know what that means, Pat? They have audio of her fighting and crying on a 911 call.
It's horrible.
Like, what are we talking about? So I don't want to hear the Michelle Wu. They can all kiss my... I don't want to hear you. I don't want to hear it. Bring in the military. Get them all the hell out of here. Shut the border down. There's no more question of it because it's for votes. It wasn't for, we care about... They care about this guy. They don't give a damn.
One life, George Floyd, was enough to justify... a whole summer of riots and protests and destruction. And the loss of George Floyd was a tragedy. It was tragedy how he died. It was tragedy he was such an addict. It was tragedy the whole thing happened. But one life was enough to justify in the liberal mindset the entire summer of property destruction and protests and all that went on it. But now you come back and we're talking about one life here, and it's not enough to get you to get behind sensible immigration policy and sensible assessment of who's coming in and who should be and who is a legitimate refugee from Iran under a failed administration and a family that can come here versus people just walking across that have got criminals in their midst. I'm sorry. If one life is good enough for that, then one life is good enough for this. And I think the future looks bright because there's enough people that are going to stand up to it and they're going to ask for it. And they just did on November 5th, and they're asking for the results. He's been nominated to help get the results. And I think people need to stay out of their damn way and let them execute the results.
Well, I totally understand why we're all emotional about this situation, because Laken Riley is basically a symbol of why America elected Donald Trump. I mean, talk about the convergence of the broken immigration system and the policies the Democrat establishment has basically resurrected between the trans rights over basic normal women's rights, right? So that letter to her future husband, are you kidding me? What type of woman these days actually writes a letter like that. So something that to think about with Laken Riley is her name is going to live on forever after her death. She has a legacy. Even though she wasn't able to create her own legacy, basically we were able to make it for her. You know, she's a symbol of what women should be these days. So, you know, this letter to her future husband where she's saying, I'm going to make this house a home and I've got dreams that I'm going to be a nurse and I'm going to be a great mother and I believe in God and I believe in Jesus and I have values and I have principles. Women don't necessarily think like that these days. We've seen this. So, you know, Trump's talking about making America great again, and I get that.
Not many.
Right.
There are some that
They're very
do, but
few,
not many.
is
Right.
what I'm saying.
Right.
Trump's talking about making America great again, but Laken Riley is sort of in the camp that's trying to make women great again. I don't know many women that talk like that these days. You know, the Democratic Party that doesn't know the difference between a man and a woman. Here's a woman fighting for her life who wanted to be a nurse, who wanted to be a wife, who wanted to be a mother. And then you juxtapose that with this surgence of this 4B movement where women are out there, and not the most attractive women, let's face it, who are claiming they're not going to date, they're not going to have sex, they're not going to marry, they're not going to have children. Nobody's interested in those women. Laken Riley is a symbol of who would be an ideal wife, is a symbol of exactly who men are more interested in these days. And her life was unfortunately taken by this guy, but her name will live on forever.
That letter was a vision statement. She believed the future looked bright.
There's no question about it. By the way, you know, this is in life sometimes strange things happen simultaneously where, you know, some of it is extremely unfair when it happens. Extremely unfair when it happens. And you never know when it's taking place. And it's typically when there's so much chaos, so much division. It could be in the family, it could be in a country, it could be a company, it could be in anything that takes place. And then all of a sudden you see certain stories that brings people together. And you realize common sense prevails. Of course, one of the other clips that we didn't see, I think it's the sister that said, I'm willing to give up everything I have just to have her back with me. I've seen so many of these clips when I go through them. Listen, I got 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. You know, you know, it's the last thing you want to see a parent go through. May God continue to bless the Riley family. The fact that Laken wrote that letter to her future husband, that means the right values and principles were taught in that family by mom and dad. Obviously, it's been a while since this happened. Condolences to the family, and justice has been served. Of course, based on what you're saying, for a guy like that, we have to use our taxpayer money to take care of this guy in jail for the next however many years, 60 years. He's a young guy. Maybe that's the conversation of a death penalty when somebody comes here illegally and does anything to any one of our citizens. You're not only here illegally and you kill one of ours, it's not even a hesitation. We're not going to spend a penny on your life. Death penalty, take this guy out. It's a conversation that maybe needs to be had at the next level. Anyways, guys, this is one of the reasons why we're optimistic. The right people are finding each other and willing to fight for individuals like her and many other individuals to prevent future Laken Riley stories from happening. At the end of the day, I think God is good. That's where my confidence comes from. Our message here is future looks bright. We're optimistic that the right people are finding each other, working together, and have the courage to go out there and do their part. If you watch this show, because a part of that DNA and the wiring is in you as well, you matter just as much as everybody else does. We appreciate you. We don't have another podcast, Rob, this week. I think I may be doing one that may go live tomorrow. But for everybody else, we'll do a Home Team podcast again next week. God bless. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.